Previously, in the Age of Ashes.
Stuck alone in our lair. The heroes tried to figure out the origin of the monkey frogs.
I don't know if they actually really want to hurt us or if they're just scared and we can't communicate with them and they don't know how to get out.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think you're giving them enough credit. They came here in force.
And they brought those creatures,
Indeed.
the dragons you had slain, up top in the keep.
And they go out adventuring, and they just stumble upon something they're not supposed to stumble upon. It sucks them into the earth. They get deposited here, and then they see us breaking through it like a week or so later, and they're starving and terrified.
Are you trying to say that they were plunged down 1,000 feet below to the land of the lost?
I don't know how magic works. Do I look like some kind of wizard to you?
But then they met us and asked us to help them explore the rest of our domain.
We are mighty dragons! Give us your meats!
And as you hit him with this jolt, they both yelp. The red one drops his stick, and they immediately retreat back behind the table and hide.
Well, I'm sorry, but you wanted to turn us into meat and eat us.
And a green claw comes out behind it. No! We want your meats.
Oh, you just want something to eat?
The left is the Deadlands. The Deadlands is beyond our domain.
Can you take us?
Maybe.
We'll protect you, and you can protect us, and maybe that land can become yours.
You're seeing this thing literally dodge like fireballs coming out from Resman. It's juking almost everything.
But you know what it can't juke? The light. It juked the light.
I'll take that session roll, thank you.
That's a 13, 19.
Oh man. What an adventure. What mighty dragons they truly were. It's frozen, so let me fix it. Again, just bear with me. I'm going to be restarting this camera probably about 100 times today. And unfortunately, the thing that's the most irritating is that I have to go all the way over there to do it. So bear with us. We're going to make this stream happen. Chat, just let me know whenever the camera crashes, which will be anywhere from every 10 to 15 seconds to, on a lucky streak, several minutes. But I can't see it. So please let me know if it's frozen. But when we left off last week, we had met Zerkenstiggles, the mighty dragons, who had agreed, after Resme gave them several pieces of jerky, seemingly the only thing they really wanted with their lives, to at least give us some of the details of the rest of the area down here beneath Citadel Altarian. It seems all that's really left is the Deadlands. The crypts that Tyrannus, the Hell Knight, had spoken of. And hopefully somewhere there or beyond is still the vaults where he's searching for his family signet ring. For now, though, we have gone back. We have retreated back to where we had two of our captives here. These two strange monkey creatures. Whatever they are, they're among the ranks of the Cinderclaws, the cultists that have taken over these lower levels. Come from somewhere
To do something.
to do something. We're still largely unclear on how they got to Breach Hill or to Citadel Altarian and why.
They're here to something Dahak.
Something Dahak. That's what we've gathered
That's
on
about
so
what
far.
we gathered.
That's what we put together. We retreated back to where we had taken two of them captive after they had surrendered when we slew their boggart leader in the halls just beyond. We had spent some time wrapping them up with a combination of ropes and their entire tents that they had brought down with them. So, as we arrived back in this room here, we come back to two little monkey burritos, still kind of tied up, packed in the corner.
Swaddled up real good.
Swaddled up real nice and comfy, just waiting in the darkness
Living the dream.
for the heroes to come back.
At least living.
And living is more than the rest of their allies can say right now, so
That's true.
That is
an
true.
amount of mercy that they have received.
Well, I see they're still here. I suppose Well, let's
Give them some food and water, I guess.
let's not get hasty.
See if they can communicate first.
So I'm gonna walk up to the one that seemed a little bit more timid. The one that wasn't, threatening us with Dahak coming and all of us. I'll take the other one.
So the one on the one on your right here as you come in, he has managed to kind of roll a little bit so that his wad of tent materials and ropes is just kind of facing away from you, just into the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't moved or anything as the group of you have made your way back into the chamber. The other one is just glaring, teeth bared,
No, gagged.
dagger, teeth trying to be bared. Well, he's still gagged. It's not
Yeah,
like
you could still
completely
bare your
wrapped
teeth.
across the bottom of his face.
Okay,
He's
yeah,
just,
that's fair.
gagged up. His lips curled back along the sides of that. Clearly not as interested in conversation.
Oh, it's fine. I don't really want to talk to him either. So Dalren's going to approach the more amenable captive because cooperating and going along gets you
Jolly cooperation.
jolly cooperation. Love it. And he's going to pick the monkey up and face him, and then kind of loom over him like this, because this is how dragons communicate. And I'm going to bark out in Draconic. Do you understand the true tongue, or are you truly as bestial as you behave?
And as you just are yelling Draconic down at this
Barking, not yelling.
barking, which is, I feel like it's a flavor of yelling.
It is kind
Like,
of.
Quite- quite
sergeanting
harsh.
down at the monkey.
And just Draconic is a very, almost like hissing language that comes out as it's spoken largely by lizard folk, kobolds, actual dragons. And it, no matter how well practiced, sounds horrifying coming from a human mouth.
Yeah, it was
just
nice.
by nature of how, well, it sounds horrifying coming from any mouth, really, to a human mind. It's unsettling, certainly, to the rest of you. And this monkey, whatever he is, almost shrivels a bit, kind of cowering, wide-eyed into its pile, just sort of looking up at you, confused.
Hmm.
Guess not.
He's still gagged, though. Did you ungag him?
I never gagged him.
Oh, the first one was the only one that you gagged. Right, you only gagged the one who was being a dumb idiot. The other one
Exactly.
had to keep his mouth.
Yeah.
So, he can't really move. He can't really emote beyond his head that's poking out of this massive tarp binding around him. But he looks odd, almost. Afraid, but not so much as if he was being threatened, as if he was like in the presence of a god or something in front of him.
If he asks you if you're a god, make sure you say yes.
Of course. It seems that he recognizes the language, if nothing else, even if he may not understand it. Approach again. Last chance. Show you understand me, and there'll be some food for you.
And still, no real change in his reaction, but he replies, Buena, woza tazona, mina, nango dahak.
Oh, there he goes with the hawk again.
He either recognizes what you're saying.
And he looks past you the rest of the party. Mina nango dahak, like more insistently. It doesn't sound threatening at all the way he's saying it. It's like he really wishes that he could make you understand just as much as you wish you could make him understand.
Right.
He's trying very hard to tell you something.
Maybe
You
he's
just
saying
don't share a language.
you speak the language of the hawk? Like the language of the gods?
Possibly. Can I get can I try to divine some sort of impression as to at least his emotional state?
Like speak in tongues between the two of you.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's trying to hide his state anyway. Again, he is like awed, so impressed somehow in some vein by you, and it almost seems like he's pleading. But bringing up Dahak, you can't really be positive what it is he's trying to plead for or about, but
It's possible that he doesn't recognize Draconic as a language outside of his affiliation with his religion. So this could be something along the lines of you're speaking the language of Dahak instead of simply speaking Draconic. He may not be aware of this language existing in any other context.
That's what I think, at any rate.
At the very least, I suppose since he's cooperating. Unfortunately, I've never really learned Mwangi, even though I traveled there many decades ago. I don't suppose there's anyone in town that I can think of that might perhaps
speak
Mwangi.
I mean, your best bets would be, just your more literary source, Jorel Blacktusk at the town archives, maybe Vaz Lorraine at the book company, but you don't know of anyone off the top of your head who would know Mwangi. That's pretty far from here. Well, I guess it's not terribly far. It's south, basically, across the sea.
Yeah, it's
across
a
the
different
inner sea. Well, it's the same continent, but it's the other side of it.
Okay.
Some of my druidic brothers know it, but none in this area for sure.
And I suppose we probably shouldn't bring a captive back to Breach Hill.
I think that is a horrible idea.
I take it Breach Hill has a thing against bringing captives back.
I don't know that Breach Hill would have any specific laws about bringing captives, and if they did, if that's something you'd be familiar with, it's not exactly in a situation that occurs very frequently here. It's sort of a...
Well, does Breach Hill look down on human trafficking / slavery?
Probably.
Probably kind of in the same vein.
Well,
but
if we were to wait, I've used all of my blessings of Serenray for the day, but I do believe I would be able to understand what they're trying to say to us at the very least if we were to come back after a rest.
Capital. We should totally do that then. That is exactly what we should do.
Does this
Thank you, Rur. That's spectacular.
I won't be able to speak with them, but I can at least understand them.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, it's still very useful. Very well. We should perhaps... I don't want to leave his arms unbound. Still, though, I don't like the idea of...
Interesting situation, to be sure. This language you speak, it is not the same as this.
It is the language of dragonkind. They've clearly heard it before, as I suspected they may have, given their affiliation with the draconic cult. But no, it does not appear to be a language that they speak, although they have heard it spoken, apparently. And that does not surprise me. And apparently those who have spoken it to them they've been in a bit of awe of. So this is a very interesting, it's an interesting development, which I think we could make some use of.
Perhaps.
Well, I suppose given the situation, it is fortunate that you accompanied me, as this is far beyond my understanding. I know nothing of dragons and the hawk, or, as far as I can tell, still just sentient monkeys.
Sentient monkeys, indeed, but definitely part of this cult. And this cult doesn't seem to be just, as you saw before, the boggards were involved in it quite well. They were all brothers in arms together. So there is something more to this cult than simply being isolated to this tribe of monkeys. And certainly how they got here and why they're here is something that I'm particularly interested in knowing. Let me think on it. Perhaps I can come up with some phrases if I think on it a bit more that they may have heard said. Maybe something more along the lines of religious oration. Perhaps I can think of something that might trigger some response.
Curiosity is the strangest things, my friend. But in this situation, it serves as well.
I don't suppose we could use this opportunity to maybe get some sleep.
Oh, of course. No. Absolutely. We'd want to retire. First, Friend Rook, if you wouldn't mind, since you're the one who's going to be trying to interpret, would you mind feeding our simian friend here at least enough to get him through the night, and we can come back down in the morning and check on him. It seems like they won't be going anywhere here. I'd leave the bitey one alone, though, if I were you.
Perhaps he'll be more willing to work with us tomorrow.
One of them is simply more, I just kind of looks down at the pair of them, amenable than the other. That is certain.
Oh,
Still, as I am a Hell Knight of the Order of the Nail, and this was once our citadel, I feel we would be remiss not to offer them the proper hospitality. So thank you, Roar.
And I will go on ahead and feed them some granola bars, some water. It's typical snack food.
Hopefully they take to that better than the lizard folk.
Oh, the kobolds.
Yeah,
Yes.
they were not particularly happy with my snacks.
They liked my jerky, though.
No, dedicated carnivores, I suppose. So.
I am very unsure on exactly what it was they wanted in the first place.
It seems to be limited strictly to, well, the meat specifically.
Still, he just kind of reaches out to the bandages wrapped all the way around his face still, because reminder at this moment, Tyrannus is basically a mummy. Just his bandages all the way around his head.
And his mustache just stuck on the front, basically.
He took
There's
off the
a
mustache.
a gap between two of the bandages where his mustache just comes out. Completely undeterred. I would not protest some rest. That much is to be certain.
I guess let's take shifts.
Would it perhaps be better to take them upstairs to the jail cells, do you think?
No, let's just leave them where they are. We know that they'll stay here.
The cells aren't in very good condition.
Yeah.
Not to mention the first floor's terribly drafty.
And from
They're tropical
what's-
creatures. It would be best if they stayed down here outside of the weather.
I do not wish for them to die to the elements. They do seem quite out of theirs here. And it is still the spring once it is cold.
And our only other option would be to take them with us into our camp, where there would be
Not
heat. But
gonna
I
happen.
don't think it would be a wise choice, specifically when we have, well, this very fortified location that they don't know how to get out of.
Do we trust these bindings?
I suppose they'll be well enough. If we don't trust, if they are managed to slip their bindings, they'll be loose in the citadel. But there's no place for them to go. If they don't find the secret door, they won't be able to get out. And if they do find the secret door, we'll be keeping watch at our camp anyway, because there'll be beasts of the hills.
And I suppose at the first, it is the situation as we found it in the first place.
Exactly.
So very well. We will rest, take shifts, recuperate as we can before we proceed further into this labyrinth. The design here is difficult to comprehend even.
Well, I've been taking some sketches, and it does seem
Not in
to...
a literal sense, but from a design standpoint. The ways these wings are organized, I can't really understand their function. We have found what appear to have been living spaces and barracks down here. Of course, the corner offices where the pile and the tunnel entrance were once held the lictor and the Mara-lictor's offices, I assume, and perhaps these were also for more higher-ranking officers, but in my explorations upstairs, the barracks were in their standard place. A massive rooms that could have housed dozens of Hell Knights.
Well, then, this area here, as you said, by the Mara-lictor's quarters and the lictor's quarters, perhaps these may have been special quarters. Maybe is there an elite unit, an honor guard unit in the Hell Knights that perhaps were stationed here? I imagine that there may have been, perhaps the reason for why they built the citadel in the first place may have been a bit lost to time, but it seems...
I was not aware of any elite units or specifically trained knights that was ever stationed here. But again, I did not know much of the purpose of this citadel.
You said that there were a special type of Hell Knight who were specifically magic users.
Signifiers, yes.
Maybe they had their own separate quarters.
Signifiers do their own business. They largely tend to themselves. They are not necessarily higher or lower rankings than the rest of us, just for a separate purpose. Separate education and separate set of skills. We respect martial strength as well as magical. Each has their purpose.
Thank you.
When he just bows his head a bit, except he's gonna take that L and not protest.
We respect your ability to light things on fire.
You know what? You're just jealous because you can't do it.
Regardless, it's not like we can ask the walls for these answers. Why don't we go ahead and set up camp?
Can
Fine
I please
idea.
take the first shift so I can sleep all the way through and not be woken up?
I will take the final shift.
Very well.
Fair enough.
And with that, you have how much of your camping supplies would you have brought with you into the Citadel? Because you had a camp up outside with your bedrolls and like if any of you had tents or anything, would you have brought that all into the basement with you, or is that still upstairs?
Well, we would have collected it because we are going to be
We were gonna be
changing
down here for a while.
locations to just outside the secret
Fair enough.
entrance.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I
I
wouldn't have
imagine
left it
we
there.
wouldn't. Yeah, we probably left
Probably
most
be
of it
left
up there.
outside, but not down in the basement with us.
Because the good news and the bad news is that this room here, you had these massive tarps to wrap up these monkey men because this seemed to be where they were camping. And there's their supplies, very different style, almost kind of slick. These oily tarps they just have pitched up in very basic structures, largely just draped over some furniture or some posts, just to cover from whatever elements they thought they would have to worry about inside of a room down here. They really do seem to be entirely out of their element with this setup.
It's almost like they were ready for a rainforest or something.
Yes,
As if they
exactly
have
right.
like really no idea how to camp in a honestly pretty frigid basement in the tail end of winter in the mountains.
Yeah.
It's not what it's kind of about as opposite as you can get from a jungle. But regardless, you'd have enough supplies to set up some degree of a comfortable situation here. And you're going to stay in here with the two captives and just camp with them.
No,
I thought we were gonna.
Up
we're
outside.
going outside.
Oh, you're going out of the
closing
Out of the
the secret
basement,
doors.
closing the secret door behind us, going all the way up the stairs and out onto the outside and camping there,
Oh, fair enough. Okay, I missed
where we
that
can
part.
start a fire and not suffocate ourselves.
That does sound like it makes a lot of sense. Starting that is an important step. An important step to be sure. So you head back outside and similar situation is left there. The secret door closed behind you if those two monkeys couldn't figure out how to get out in the first place. Certainly they can't figure out how to get out now unless they get exceedingly lucky or are able to track where you had left, because you did come and go now adding a trail, a track left by 5-6 people coming in and out of this doorway.
They also have no light sources.
Well,
That didn't seem to bother them.
Didn't seem to
before.
bother them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was no light down here until you brought your torches. They have been down there in pure and complete darkness. So that's probably not something they're terribly concerned with, I would imagine.
And the
But-
entire time that we were down there, we didn't see any like lanterns or torches or any sort of light source, did we?
No, the entirety of the chambers underneath the Citadel appear to be dark. There was no source of light from any of them. So yeah, it doesn't really seem to bother them too much.
Okay.
But as you reach the surface and start to set up your camps, as you're going to settle for the night after what has realistically been your first real adventure here, you went into the upper floor of Citadel Altair and kind of just marched in, bushwhacked your way through with very minimal concerns, and returned to town hailed as heroes. Barely having done anything, but this has been a little different.
Yep.
There's been incredibly deadly boggards, these monkey creatures, the gelatinous ooze that had nearly consumed 3 of you, not to mention what appeared to be an animated doll that gave everyone a huge amount of trouble. As you're readying up here, right outside the secret entrance to the basement, what are your preparations? What are your preparations for the night before you settle down? What are you doing?
Getting the fire started, maybe looking around for some wild nuts and berries to make some more granola. Just very basic stuff. Maybe making sure everyone's wounds are still tended to.
How about you, Elspeth?
I'll be kind of mostly keeping watch until it's time for me to lay down so that I can go ahead and get some semblance of sleep before last watch, but still kind of do a patrol.
Just make sure the area doesn't have any of these Cinderclaws that perhaps did get out of the area, maybe found their way up to the surface, or, any of the other wide variety of things that can just be lurking in the woods at night. Buddy,
Probably generally a nuisance. Whoo-wee! I'll be certainly glad for some sleep around here. It's I'll be happier than a dead hog in sunshine waking up tomorrow and be nice and rested.
I have several questions about that particular euphemism,
Yeah.
but maybe
Well, haven't you ever seen a dead hog in sunshine?
I've never seen a dead creature of any sort that seemed to express joy.
Oh, well, dead hogs are real funny, as their face starts drying up from the sunshine, it inches their lips up and it looks like a real funny grin.
You're making it really hard to pray.
Well, I don't know what I expected. But fair enough. It just like so it's just the same reaction, just okay.
Train of thought. Choo choo choo.
So Doran.
I'm painfully aware by the shifting of my armor with every step I take that soaking hide armor in an acid bath is not very good for it.
Does not appear to have been done.
No, so the first thing he's going to do is take all this off and re-stitch some straps, get some buckles put together, probably replace some straps, maybe even stitch entire plates back onto their articulation straps to go and get his armor back up into fighting shape.
Yeah, with an entire evening before you, I'm not even going to make you roll craft checks because you have a whole evening in a crafting kit. You could definitely spend an hour or two bringing your armor
Crafting kids.
back into perfect fit there, so we could reasonably assume mechanically that it's just going to be at full health.
Perfect.
However you had for the
I
resume.
will take that.
We take those.
We take those.
I mean, I could make you roll like 7 crafting checks for no reason, but unless you critically failed a whole bunch of times in a row, the end result is going to be.
Since we are sleeping outside under the stars, Resme will actually do a traditional druidic closing of the day ceremony. It's something they've probably never seen before. It's very quiet. She doesn't talk or say anything. It's just a series of movements that she goes through. You'll see her whisper a little, and she'll end in a kind of bowed position before she gets back up and starts eating.
But Tyrannus, as all this is going, is the one who did not come here really expecting this to be a multi-day kind of expedition, especially from what little he's brought with him. It seems like he very much intended to walk into the Citadel, poke around for a few minutes, find his signet ring, and then head home. But obviously this is all proven to be much more intricate than he had originally thought it was going to be. And especially after the encounter with the gelatinous cube, where even what he had in his little satchels has just been dissolved. And he's put some of his supplies in somebody else's bag. I can't remember who he gave them to.
I actually had an extra belt pouch. That
Oh, you gave him an extra belt pouch, what it was. You gave him an extra belt pouch that you've gotten as a package deal with your adventurers
With my
kit.
adventurers kit, yeah.
And they put it back on to try and hold a lot of his things. So, he is not super helpful, really. He shrugs off some of his armor, also with a bit of difficulty as some of the straps and attachments have suffered from his time in a gelatinous cube, as everybody else's things have done. But as he gets his breastplate and his gloves off, he just kind of looks around at the group, sees Resme doing whatever the hell Resme is doing, and after absorbing Buford's
Commentary.
perspective, he heads over to Dolren as you're working on repairing your armor and looks down at it. Unfortunate. One of the many downsides of such simple armor. Why do you choose it?
Well, I suppose it's been a well, this armor has been mine since I was a boy. In fact, grew up in the sand wastes of Osirian, and this is the type of armor that we wear there.
You just kind of raised an eyebrow. Did it grow with you?
Oh, no. When I came of age, of course.
I will admit, I could count on the fingers of one hand the number of elven kind I have met in my life. Well, obviously before this, where for some reason you appear to be everywhere.
It seems to be a strange case indeed.
But, and he just kind of looks over to Resme doing her closing ceremonies, just bowed over, just sort of on the ground, not really doing anything, so like just all curled up in a ball. Like, is that normal for your folk? She certainly has some eccentricities.
Resme seems to be, fairly unique type of case.
You know I can hear you, right?
So she's curled in the ball. But we hail from different areas, and we've come to Breach Hill for our own reasons. So I wouldn't go too far grouping us all together, but we are all citizens of Breach Hill. And so perhaps that should be the common bond that we all share, perhaps the one that you judge us by, which I suppose from your perspective would be backwoods, rustic, and perhaps quaint country folk with odd mannerisms.
And from just kind of looking at Resme, he turns slowly to look over to Buford, wherever he is. Well,
but what about you, Sir Knight?
Your votes, not mine.
Well, what about you? Certainly I understand the importance of familial history and the desire to have a keepsake from your ancestors, but you've come very far and gone through an awful lot of trouble chasing down a ring belonging to an ancestor. Judging from what the Hell Knights left behind when they abandoned this place, it seems as though your order doesn't place overly much value on sentimentality. I'd be curious as to why you seem to have gone so far.
Perhaps I could offer you your same advice, and perhaps you would do better not to group those of my order so closely together. For the Hell Knights themselves, there is little value in such ties and things, but at the end of the day, we are all our own people. And to me, my history, my ancestry, and the gifts and everything that have been laid at my feet and my ancestors, these are important to me. Clearly more so than it was to my compatriots at the Order of Zanel, based on how much of it was left behind. But I believed it was worth my time, is all. As this is my leave, after all, I could be anywhere. Any number of Varisian beaches, bazaars, markets. But, no, for some reason I chose to do this.
I feel that in the long run you'll be better for it. Don't give up on family, and don't forget where you came from. It's all we really ever come from and all we ever have, despite what we pick up later.
That is very much the thing. The more I explore the Citadel, he just kind of gestures aimlessly towards the massive castle. As the more I've seen of this ruin, especially the areas below, the more I feel I don't understand where we've come from. I had looked up much of this place before I arrived, before I made my journey out here. Preparations, you could say.
Of course.
And what knowledge I was able to find of Breach Hill, the attached town, was nearly nothing. There is no origin, no records, nothing about the settlement itself, barely any mention of the town's existence, and as far as the Altarian, I don't understand why it is, much less what it is at this point.
And from the distance, you'll hear, it sounds like you and I have a lot to talk about when we get back to the city. That's why I'm here too.
And, Smarky just shakes his head. This was abandoned in an odd fashion, as far as I can tell.
Indeed.
Hastily. It's not so much sentimentality as pragmatism and efficiency within we choose to relocate, which is rarely. The Citadel of Raid in Varisia has stood for some generations, and it is in the center of a major settlement, nearby many trade routes, access to a variety of nations, not more than a few days or weeks travel away, but this is in the middle of nowhere, on nothing. It's defensible, sure, but from what and why?
And what is it defending?
Well, perhaps tomorrow's journeys may elucidate us further, Dalren.
Perhaps. Hopefully the answers don't lie buried in the sub-basement. Well, we'll see.
That we will. And we seem to find only questions.
Dalren will actually take a ration out of his pack and offer it to him. You'll need your strength, I'm sure.
He takes it. Thank you. I did not come prepared for such an expedition.
That's fine. I'm making tea.
He looks over at you, who you're now just up doing your stuff.
Yep.
Very well. Tea it is. We are in, as close as I can tell, to my ancestral home, and yet it is I who is somehow the guest. And shrugs and heads over towards the fire with the rest of you. So, you're all able to rest this evening. It's, again, quite cold outside. Getting definitely at least down to near freezing, if not below. As you,
Brought my jacket.
you would probably all have brought some amount of winter gear, just for the trek to set it all Altarian, if nothing else. And over the course of the evening, as you take your various shifts and everyone rests, everyone gets your powers back, your spells, whatever hit points you may be missing, you regenerate as normal for a night, and you also get some session rerolls.
All right.
That may potentially be necessary in the future of this adventure.
Immediately upon re-entry.
Which, by the way, is a side note. That thing I said earlier about how I only had like 5 or so of these extra golden coins to be hero points, Jen here was, I think, directly offended by. So we now have about a bajillion. So if you've got channel points, do not in any way be afraid to redeem them for hero points. I'm not going to run out of coins at any point ever. We've got like 20 trillion of them. So, as you rest, buddy, are you all taking shifts, or all 6 of you kind of sharing this load?
Seems reasonable.
So, buddy, as you're sleeping, as your shift comes up, you eventually feel someone reach down to awaken you. And, well, maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm off here, but I for some reason I got Buddy pegged as a bit of a heavy sleeper.
I got 2 kids here. You learn how to be
That's
a light
exactly
sleeper.
why he's a heavy sleeper.
Now, you learn how to be a light sleeper if your wife is going to hit you in the head with a frying pan if you don't wake up fast enough.
Well, then, not so much awoken slowly as jolted immediately to consciousness.
Where are the kids? What happened?
The fear of the lash cracking behind him. The first thing you notice is that as the night has passed and started to march towards the following morning, the air has fortunately seemed to get a bit warmer. Some of the frigidity has leached away, and you're no longer swaddled up in every coat and blanket you'd brought with you, trying not to freeze to death in the middle of the woods.
That's suspicious. Why is it getting warmer at night?
But as you go to kind of remove yourself from this nest that I imagine basically everyone would have built themselves for the evening, you reach around to a clank and scratch of metal. There's no blankets or coats on you at all. And you appear to still be in all of your armor.
Can I move at all?
You can absolutely move. You were trying to take blankets off. You can move.
Okay. Well, I sit up. If I can.
You can sit
And
up. Is
look
this the
around.
most suspicious?
I'm of course suspicious.
Fear is in her.
So who woke me up?
So, as you kind of sit up and look around, it's still mostly dark, and your eyes don't adjust instantly to make out as to who that would have been. When she glares at us across the table.
I know he's got last watch, but
No, you can't make hardly anything out of the darkness. It takes a moment for your pupils to fully dilate and absorb the small amount of light that's here. But as you do start to adjust, you can see what light there is trickling down from above through the trees and the bluff above you. And you look up and see not leaves, but glass. An array almost around a circle up above you of a different stained glass windows, colored with deep reds and some bright silvers dominating most of the frames, but the lights coming down through them defiantly still golden all the same.
I'd immediately start searching through my rations to see if there had like some mushrooms or something gotten in there.
So as you go to reach down towards your bags, your gauntleted hand clanks against the tiled stone floor. There's no bed, there's no bags, there's nothing around you. The only thing you can find on the ground is a sword. A long sword, not the kind of thing that you would normally wield, and one that, while it looks relatively simple, with a near straight guard into just a near spherical pommel, and a perfectly fine rectangular blade, it looks almost perfect in a way. Like, it's not extravagant, it's not ornate, but every aspect of it is somehow as it should be.
Do I recognize the sword?
You do not.
I would nudge it a little bit, see if it's real.
It appears to be real. You poke it across the tiled spot. As your eyes start to adjust more and you start to take in more of the area around you, you can feel this warmth growing. You don't know so much that it's the warmth of the air so much as it's just almost a warmth inside you. And you can see this white tiled ground spreading out around you to massive towering cathedral walls in every direction, heading up to this dome capped atop with this ring of stained glass windows, this golden light still just shining directly down and starting to fill the room. And with this growing light, as you look down at the sword, you can see your entire body is covered in a new suit of armor that is most certainly not yours. This is not your simple breastplate. This is like a knight's kit, full plate, that they would ride to war in. And in a panic, you reach for your cowboy hat
Yeah.
to find only a visored steel helm planted over your head.
Well, hell, I didn't mean to die this early. Man, my wife's gonna be so mad.
Pulling yourself to your feet, confused, in this almost slowly growing panic here.
Pretty dejected about dying.
Son about the death. You feel a sense of calm start to come over you somewhat as you hear faint melodic chords just kind of echoing errantly through the cathedral, seemingly randomly, but together in harmony.
Are there any, like, religious, like, symbols that I can see or anything?
Nothing immediately apparent as you look around
Like
the
in the
cathedral
stained
itself.
glass, there's no, like...
The stained glass seems to be geometric
colors?
in
Oh, okay.
various patterns, not depicting anything
Okay.
specific. But as you get up and look around, the only thing you can see as you stand up, your left arm is incredibly heavy, as there is a massive steel kite shield strapped to it already. And as you turn that and look at it, emblazoned on the front, you can see a symbol very reminiscent of the longsword laying on the ground, and that starts to connect with you. That this isn't just a sword. This is a holy symbol.
Sword of Iomade right there.
So
I got the shield, and I see a sword here, but I'd pick up the sword and... I got it here.
unclear. This simple man, entirely beyond how to parse the events happening to him, looks around, confused, as almost in response, the light from the window starts to move, as if the sun was speeding across the sky at an accelerated pace. But they're not all moving together. They're not all scrolling as if the source was unanimous. They're focusing, almost like a magnifying glass, as these different beacons of light move toward you.
Do they look dangerous?
It's just light. It's like
Lasers.
it's light from a window.
Should I get my reflex going here? Or?
It does not look particularly dangerous.
Okay,
no.
well.
But
Okay,
still,
I guess I will stand here until the light gets
standing
here.
there in utter confusion.
Maybe puff out my chest and look a little bit more professional if I'm going to be meeting Iomedae today, and I did not
As the
prepare
light
for
starts to
this.
shine off of your fold plate and the sword that you've picked up in your hand, it gleams off of the kite shield strapped to your other arm, almost glowing off of the metal, as it seems to infuse into the face of this, into the holy symbol of Iomedae emblazoned on the outside of the shield. And the weight of the shield fades. You feel your arm just become lighter, as if there was nothing attached to it, as if it was just a feather, rather than this massive metal bulwark that you just had to lift up off of the ground. And with that, you are immediately shaken awake by whoever just finished their watch,
I didn't put anything in the tea.
which is going to be Dalren. And you awaken on the ground, back outside Citadel Altarian in the grass, with Dalren's hand on your shoulder, just kind of looking over you.
Your turn, Buford. Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost.
Did any of us die yesterday?
Well, it was near call, I'll say that. Well, for a couple of us, but, well, we all pulled through.
I'd look down at my armor.
Much thanks to you, actually.
Man, I had a real weird dream. I must be exerting my power of Iomedae a little bit, a little overmuch, because honestly, I have no idea what's going on here.
I know Lady Desna's the god of dreams, the goddess of dreams, so perhaps she may have meddled in your way.
Huh. Maybe. Well, I'd go check my armor and my shield and make sure it's
So
all.
where do you, how do you pack all of this up when you're sleeping? Because you don't sleep with your breastplate and your shield strapped to your arm, so is it just kind of in a little pile next to you here?
Well, it's laid out like I would be laid out. So I can
Are
remember.
you kidding
Laid out,
me?
it's laid out, ready to go, so you can
Just
just
in
roll
case.
over into
You
it.
can just put a slip-in slide on the ground and just
No, it's a decoy, in
No,
case
no.
someone attacks them in their sleep.
So you have a breastplate with your two little gauntlets next to it. And
On the buddy strip. Lock and load.
your graves and sabatons just below that. And your cowboy hat just laying on the ground.
That's not possible.
Like regular people store their armor.
Yeah.
I can't handle that.
Okay.
I think God is second questioning metaphor right now.
All right, so your armor is laid on the ground, also asleep, laid on the ground next to you.
I almost woke up the wrong buddy this morning.
Yep.
Make a percentile check
Okay.
to rake the right buddy.
So what did you want to check?
I want to see if it's any shinier than usual.
It does not look any shinier than usual. No, it's still very dark out here, and you can barely make out the shape of what looks like a second Buford just laying in the grass here next to you. A bit of frost actually having formed around the metal as the temperature drops overnight. Your shield still just laying, I imagine, over the top of the glove
Left,
where it
yeah,
goes
yeah,
on the
no,
side of you.
left arm right there. You got to make sure you don't put it on the right arm. I tap it a bit.
Tap the shield.
Do you think there's anything wrong with my armor? Do you see anything weird going on around here?
Well,
I feel
aside
like
from the fact that you leave your steel armor out in the elements overnight, you're asking for it to rust. I don't understand it. You have to oil the heck out of it to keep it in good shape.
it gets well oiled. That is some pretty upkept.
They make canvas bags. They're very useful.
You ever tried putting a breastplate in a canvas bag?
Yes.
It'd have to be the size of it. It's like,
About the size of the breastplate, actually.
yeah.
Buford, I'm going to purchase you a present when we get back to town.
But then I won't know which side goes on where.
Oh, that's why you lay it out. So if you hold your hands out like this, maybe a diagram.
Well, that's why
I'll work on
I don't
something.
need a diagram if I just have it laid out there.
We'll come with a solution. I know we can solve this together. With study. We'll start with this. You just hold them out here, so whichever one makes the L, you'll see. Your left.
And what difference would that make?
You don't want to put the wrong gauntlet on.
Well, that's why I have it laid out.
But what if it's face down?
Well, I don't put it face down.
But it might roll over in its sleep.
But it's not sleeping. It's just laying there.
Okay, so we can agree on that. You know what? It's been a long day. I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah, you best go to bed.
I think I'm going to go to bed.
It's going to be a long day tomorrow.
Yes.
As Doran takes his leave here to head to his own rest. Buford now enlightened with the knowledge of the mighty dragons.
And I'd be looking at my hand. I'd be like, why would you
They're
need...
both L's. What are you
Yeah,
talking
exactly. Why would you even need to know that?
I don't get it.
Is this what he meant by when it rolls over?
I can't handle this. It's amazing.
You just
And I'd go to watch.
go to watch and take your shift. All right, fair enough. Oh, so the rest of the night passes without any particular incidents. Whereas finally, in the morning, with the last shift, Esvis, as the sun has already started to rise up a bit over the horizon, and everyone's starting to come to. Each of you awaken, still here in the morning cold, with a bit more of an overcast sky growing, a bit more clouds. It's warming up enough as the sun starts to come, but the frost doesn't really persist more than half an hour beyond daybreak. So you're just left with, I guess, wet armor just laid out around on the ground here,
I've got little washcloths things. Those things dry up real good.
and everybody else getting up and preparing their morning to venture back into the basements made Citadel Altarian.
If you look at your quiver of arrows, you'll notice that Severin is actually curled up beside them and actually almost kind of grooming your arrow feathers.
That bird's gonna mess up your shot right there.
Oh, he thinks they're bird feathers.
Probably are.
They are bird feathers, aren't they?
I know, but he's lonely.
Well, that's real sad. Why'd you take him away from his family?
Well, I didn't. He came to me.
Uh-huh. That's what my kids say all the time.
He'll kind of hop over to you, like kind of hop after you.
So majestic.
And over in the corner where Tyrannus is working to hone his blade edge. Yes, quite a majestic creature indeed. One that I'm sure will bring us... I have nothing for this one.
So this morning,
It's too
Dalren
early.
Dalren is actually going to be meditating as part of his daily preparations, and when he wakes up, sort of a gleam will appear in his eyes. I remember now. So mechanically, I took my ancestral paragon feat, which gave me access to my old memories. So every day I can train and actually take a new trained skill to represent things that I've experienced in my past.
Okay.
So I can think about it and
Did
I
you
can
take
swap that
Lore
every day.
the Wangi language?
I took Lore Mwangi. That's exactly, in fact, what I did. Because I did trek through that when I was, like, in my 30s.
Okay, fair. 400 years ago or whatever.
About 80, 90.
Okay, fair enough. So, as you come to on that, everyone now with your third level, I believe, has reached some new things. Specifically, our cleric and our sorcerer druid here. will definitely have made some further progression on their magics, some further connections. So, what is it exactly, Rur, that opens up your ability to use these more powerful spells? Is this just like a stronger connection to your faith? Is this some kind of a higher actual magical understanding? Is it something you've studied?
For me personally, it would be living the tenets of my faith, showing true devotion to the ways of my God, has allowed me a deeper connection with the religion and the powers as a whole.
That's how you know you're pleasing Serenray. You just have this slowly growing well of magical energy that you're just more and more in tune with. Well, how about you, Resme? Because yours is in your blood, literally.
So I also took Ancestral Paragon.
What a surprise!
Friggin' elves.
And as you know, she's a half elf, but she's more in touch with her elf side than most half elves. So
Not
she's actually
visibly a half elf. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure everybody knows.
I don't think
you're
anyone
half
even
elf.
knows.
No one
you.
even
Everyone
knows that I'm
probably
half elf.
thinks you. Even the elves probably just
Probably
assume
not,
you're a
yeah, I
full-blooded
would
elf. Yeah. Like
so,
elven nobility might notice.
but that's
but-
about it. So she's actually picked up the elven lore ancestral ability. So as she gets more in touch with her history and she reaches deeper back into the bloodline and the magic of her people, it's making her different and kind of drawing her toward her family and its secrets and her obsession with it, like, at the same time. So she's kind of splitting a little bit more even than she already was, and kind of almost starting to lose the human side of herself.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So she's going from a half elf to like a 3/4 elf.
Something
We
like
kind
that.
of started at 3/4 elf, and we're going like a 4/5 elf, maybe, making our way over. Fair enough. And that's putting you more in touch with these like ancestral, just I guess elven
Magics.
magic that's just opening up to you. So, as everyone works their daily morning preparations, you two readying your spells, Esphis and Dalren, your weapons and what you need, Buddy drying your armor that you apparently just leave on the ground outside overnight.
And hasn't turned orange somehow.
That's well, it's not like it gets used terribly often, I'd imagine. You did not a whole lot of purpose for a breastplate on the
Wait.
farm, I suppose.
Back on the farm, does it just have to sit out for the one day that it'll eventually be used?
Then it
So
would be
It's in
orange.
the center of the living room, just
You
laid
think-
across the carpet.
You think that I don't have an armor rack? What do you think I am? Something like
No,
excuse me,
based
you
on the
think I-
current
Yeah.
evidence, I don't.
Based on what I heard from Dalren, it's the
I don't
ears
bring it
that lays
around
out.
with me.
So for the first time, I will throw up False Life, and unless I specifically say so, I'm throwing that up every morning.
Okay, so that does last, I think, 8
8
hours.
hours.
So it's not an entire day, but you're planning on going directly into this basement
yeah.
here. And Tyrannus in the corner, after he's sort of taken a whetstone to the blade of his halberd a bit, you can see him messing with the bandages on his face a little, trying to
gosh.
adjust some of this a little bit. Kind of very gingerly, very tenderly touching at some of it and trying to peel a bit of it away.
Do you want me to take that
Yeah.
off? I've got some cream that can go over it.
Nope.
God,
I
you
have
like my
this.
brothers.
Thoroughly under control.
The last time you said that, you knocked yourself unconscious.
I did not knock myself unconscious. I
Yeah.
succumbed to my wounds.
No.
This is a different situation.
No, pretty sure you knocked yourself unconscious. I watched it happen.
I was unable to treat them in time. I was injured by the boggards. I succumbed to my wounds.
We're gonna go
Pack,
with that.
door, and I'm just already walking over towards the secret door.
One of these days, he's going to get more in touch with his sensitive side.
Yeah, well, we'll see if Severin can make progress on that.
Are you his sensitive side?
Not yet.
Well, if you'll give me some time to deal with this sensitive side of myself, I will be ready shortly. And No one's going to stop him. He is
Nope.
going to.
Now we're gonna watch.
continue
No,
this
we're
trying
gonna
to
again.
get
watch.
himself. Because
This
he's
is too
at
good.
this.
I'm just gonna prop up on a rock and wait.
So as you're finishing up your morning preparations, Tyrannus is.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Doing 6 damage to himself.
Yes.
Rips the bandage with a strip of skin attached.
Oh.
So as he's trying to take these bandages,
Damage.
times a 6 on a d6.
Wow.
So,
He's so inept.
as he's barely, he's in the corner, turned away from everyone, and you see him kind of reaching up and like almost twitching a bit. This is a 10-minute process. It's not fast, but a slowly growing pile of these bloodied bandages
Ugh.
next to him that he's taking away from his face, and
We're like eating breakfast and watching this.
as he finally turns around to the rest of the group with one eye he can barely even open and about 0 skin on the total of his face here.
You didn't change the bandages before you went to bed, did you?
I had not believed the situation was that bad. No.
All right, sit down. Sit down.
Do you have more of this gauze? I just need to.
I have plenty of this gauze. You're going to hurt yourself. Sit down.
I believe the hurt is already done. I just need to put a bandage back on it, ideally relatively quickly. The cold air is burning much worse than I had anticipated.
I'm going to go on ahead and treat his wounds.
Oh my god.
We're going to go for advanced treating of his wounds.
So you're gonna
So
go
Knight,
for
this
the-
is ghoulish. Please let him help you.
Please stop. So you are going to try to. You're expert in medicine now, correct? So you're going to try the big treat. Okay, so you can do that, and anytime you treat wounds, you can choose to do the trained or the expert DC. It gives you options. Expert, of course, is higher.
Yeah.
There's more likely chance of failure, but you will heal much more if you do succeed. You're basically trying more advanced, more complicated treatment here.
That's a 27.
27 will succeed. So you're going to restore 2d8 plus 10 health to Tyrannus. So it just gets a flat plus 10 for the expert DC.
Dang. Hey.
Or 24.
And with that, you are able to largely patch him up. An assortment of salves, maybe a bit of your own cantrips, some light magic, and then some bandages over the worst of it has left Tyrannus looking significantly better than he did yesterday and way better than he did 10 minutes ago. With just probably one last bit over across his forehead here and maybe one up under his chin where it just chewed away particularly badly. But
This is why you let someone who has the proper materials treat the wounds. And you change the bandages before you go to bed.
well, why didn't you tell me that before we went to bed, Sun Priest?
I tried to. You were a little busy.
See, Esvis, this isn't.
Esmus is gone. Esmus is like at this. Esmus has been standing, unless he came back. It's been 20 minutes. Did you come back over? You
Not at all.
you
Just standing there next to the just
standing in
arms
the door
folded.
like 50 yards away, just
I'd go
watching.
stand next to Esvis then.
Bird perched on his head.
And Tyrannus stands himself up. Oh, by Asmodeus, that is an unpleasant sensation. Very well. Let us proceed. Hopefully the worst of this is dealt with. Leads away.
Wow.
Don't you worry. I'll be making sure to take a close look at you every few minutes.
Oh, fantastic.
Think of the stories, Sir Knight, you'll have when you get back.
Yes, fantastic. The
Being
story.
tended to by a half.
It's
by a
the
half
story of how Tyrannus Knight Armiger fell into a pile of aggressive gelatin and had to be saved by a midget sun priest.
Yes.
The bards will sing of this one for generations.
Perhaps some artistic editing may be called for.
It'll be a short
I do
song.
not know that Shellen herself could save that story. But
Oh, Esvis, you've got a piece of straw in your hair. You know, actually, it looks good. It looks fine. Did you get your coffee this morning?
No.
Oh, well, that explains. Everybody, we should start moving real fast.
as the group of you head back down into the depths, make your way back underneath Citadel Altarian. You arrive Well, not terribly worse for wear if your name's not Tyrannus.
I can't believe he did it twice.
That's so great.
I rolled a 3.
It needed to
Like,
happen.
I can't, there's a reason that we play these tabletop RPGs, so we only get so much say in the story because the D20 meme's way harder than I ever possibly could. But you arrive back in the basement with a few lighting cantrips, so you're not in just complete darkness to what appears to be exactly the situation you had left. Nothing looks any different to you in this entryway here. There's no signs anyone else has been down here. There's no signs anyone has moved through here. In fact, the dead bodies of the boggards and the birds that you had slain literally right in front of you are all still piled in place, although at least a touch more rancid after a night.
Fortunately,
being
it's
left
still
in the
real cold
basements.
down here, so it's not going to get
It is
real bad.
relatively chilly, but this is surprisingly deep underground, so it's insulated decently. It probably didn't freeze.
It's been winter,
but it is-
this is spring now.
It is
so-
still fairly cold down here, so it's not nearly as bad as it could be. It could be substantially worse, but party, what is the plan here?
I guess
We
we're
gotta-
gonna stack up like we did.
Well, no, we
first
gotta
need
go
check
talk
to the captives.
Yeah. Because now we can actually understand them.
Oh, that's right.
So the group of you make your way up to the 2 Cinderclaws, who also just have not moved. Doesn't look like they've had a whole lot of opportunity to. Over the night, both of them appear to have wiggled some amount of their bondage. The rope's still holding them decently well, but they have created a lot of pockets in the tarps that are wrapped around them. It's much more loose in places. For the aggressive gagged one, significantly more noticeable. He appears to have struggled quite furiously against his bonds, but
Do you guys smell something down here? I don't know if we thought this out very well.
you've also kind of abandoned them here for half of a day and the evening, so probably neither of them smell fantastic, no.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you basically wrapped them in giant diapers, so it's
Yeah.
not like it could be worse.
Well, I suppose let's go on ahead and get this started. This is a new blessing. I'm not sure how well it's going to work, but I suppose let's give it a try. And I will channel the power of Sarenrae through my vocal cords, my ears, and just the majority of my head, bringing a new understanding of
The general
language,
headal part of the cleric.
bringing new understanding of the language of Mwangi to myself.
So what are you doing here?
Casting comprehend languages.
So what exactly does comprehend language do in 2nd edition?
I can understand a chosen language.
Okay.
I cannot understand codes, ciphers, or secret languages spread through that language without being able to decipher it.
It's still coded.
It's
Yeah,
still
it's not going to
coded.
reveal that to you.
And later on, it will give me the ability to speak and farther understand the language. But for now, it's only...
So you still can't speak Mwangi. You
But I can
just
understand what they're saying.
understand Mwangi.
Yes.
All right, that's interesting. I'm glad I asked because that is an interesting change from 1st edition. So with
Later
this-
on, it becomes tongues.
with heightened.
Yeah.
So for now, though, you will be able to, if they are speaking Mwangi, which it seems like they are, and it's not some crazy dialect, you'll be able to understand what they're saying, but you still will have no real great way to communicate with them. So,
And I do have to pick the language when I cast
right.
the spell.
But yeah, we know Mwangi.
Mhm.
So, what do you do then?
I'm going to look at Dalrin and say, would you please speak to them in Draconic again, and I'll tell you what he was saying.
Of course.
We'll try to roughly translate this out.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to speak draconic phrases that sound like something that would be preached, as opposed to just conversational draconic, if such a thing exists, really. From Dalrin's investigations, he's not entirely sure conversational draconic is actually a thing.
May not be a thing.
Yes, certainly not in the formal language of dragons. Maybe like the rudimentary like kobold dialects.
maybe.
They've got stuff, but
Zerk and Sniggles may have some bits of conversational draconic.
yes. I'm going to again, nice one who apparently it likes to talk and not bite you. I'll kind of loom over him again with the draconic superiority to inferior and he'll use that conjugation as he speaks. And he'll say, "Go forth and spread the word of Dahak to all who you see," kind of thinking that they've heard something similar to that in the past.
And the one who's gagged at this point starts, as you all come down here, starts speaking Draconic again, just starts lashing furiously, wiggling inside of his thing, just generally throwing a tantrum for about 4 seconds before he just falls still again and sits there. And the other one looks up at you and just continues to reply in a language that means nothing to you, but Rur can now understand. We have done our best. We came here in Legion, but I do not understand. Why are we bound? How have we failed? Are you Cinderclaw?
Of course,
He's just
as he's
absolutely
talking,
bewildered.
I would be translating.
We have done everything. We have followed every tenet. We have followed every command. We were defeated, but is this a test?
I think it might be okay to untie this one. At least for the sake of having civil conversation as best we can and possibly getting more out of him.
No, he seems to be. I disagree. I think that the superior and inferior relationship that we've established here is actually what's making him so willing to speak. Perhaps we should keep it in this vein for at least a little bit longer. So it seems as though he believes us because possibly we have some command of Draconic language in our hands, that we are Cinderclaws or at least are superiors to him, particularly because we're acting that way.
He
good.
interrupts you. Please, emissaries, we have done all we can.
So at this point, it seems it might be good as to try to dig a bit further as to specifically what they're trying to do.
Try to make some gestures that are really all-encompassing. See if you can get him to act like you're displeased with him in some way. See if you can get him to explain himself.
So I'm going to approach this one again, and in Draconic again. Your mission, and he'll sweep around this place. You've been here in the dark for a week, and he'll hold up a finger for each day that they were down here. And what do you have to show for it? Nothing.
And he, watching all of this, very engaged in whatever you're trying to communicate here, he just, again, replies, I do not understand. I do not have the wisdom of Malarunk. I do not speak the tongue. I have not been so blessed. What do you want of us, emissaries?
Would I recognize that name?
You would not know.
Would I recognize it with Mwangi lore?
Neither of you would recognize that it is like a Mwangi-styled name, but you aren't sure what. And he continues, We have tried to free Gludvarg's Malarunk, but we are trapped here as he is below. I cannot understand you, emissaries.
Maybe he's talking about some sort of ancestor that's down in the crypt that they're trying to get out.
Not the crypts. The crypts are to our south. They'd have no issue getting there. Gludvarg, or whatever this may be, is below. Possibly on... I'm sorry?
Gludvarg.
Gludvarg.
Gludvarg Malarunk.
Very, very distinctive. Perhaps in the Deadlands.
I don't believe so. I believe they're on the basement below us, which might also explain some of the directions they were digging in. Yes. No, remember, there's a second basement below this one, but the stairs collapsed.
Maybe,
that's possible, what they could be going.
And maybe if we take the below route, maybe it wraps around and leads there.
Doubtful. Well, we might get lucky. You never know.
The construction, the architecture of this place, from what I recall from my study of it, is not traditional. It does things that you wouldn't expect.
Certainly Tyrannus seemed at least a bit puzzled
And he
by
just
its
continues
layout.
again. Emissaries, please! We have done all that is asked of us. Gludvarj Malarunk led us through the flaming portal to bring the glory of Dahak to the lands beyond. What have we done wrong? How have we failed you?
Portal? So they did come through a portal.
It is actually down there, like the what was the alchemist apprentice name?
Alcetta's ring. What Calmont said.
Calmont, yeah.
Calmont. Yeah.
I was like, I also blanked on that for a second.
Alcetta's ring is real?
A portal exists,
That would
capable of
definitely-
transport.
It would definitely explain the existence of jungle creatures in the middle of winter.
Oh, we have to go down there and find it.
Perhaps it is not actually jewelry.
I don't think it is. I think it's maybe some sort of incantation or some sort of rune set or some sort of magical set of devices or inlays that connect to different places.
It could simply be a circular portal, perhaps. There have been things of this nature. Very well. Dalrin, again, drawing himself up. Silence! And I'm sure they've heard that before.
They probably get that one.
Check my notes. Again, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, so I'm terribly sorry. We will free Galadrudj Malarak. You will stay here. And
that's he didn't understand that one, so he continues.
Would I be able to use the words that he's been saying back to him to say...
I'm gonna say with comprehend languages, you're hearing it as if he's speaking common.
Okay.
So you're not making a connection. It's not like you're not getting any more understanding of Longi from this. It's
Okay.
just basically being magically translated as
Gotcha.
it comes through to you, which is why code and stuff still doesn't work out.
Resme is going to look at him and go,
And he looks at you. And he looks back to Dalrin here. Just continues his. He doesn't say anything. He just looks back and forth a few times.
it'd probably be good to give him some more food.
yeah. I'll
Probably
give him
again,
some,
not for that
some
one. It looks
dried
like
fruit.
he really wants to strap his bonds.
I'll give him some dried fruit.
And I mean, he will. Absolutely.
And
if
some
this
water.
Is view him in front of him. You hold this before him. He will ravenously tear into this. He doesn't have like his hands or anything for you, but he will just pull the whole thing in his mouth and eat it and swallow it whole. Like he is utterly unbothered by the state of it, or if there's seeds or cores or anything he's not supposed to eat. He is clearly very, very hungry
We did feed him
at
last
this
night.
point. Yeah, you did feed, but still, I mean,
Yeah.
you fed him last night, but you fed him last like late afternoon.
And I'll make sure he has water too.
I'm gonna put like a little bowl just kind of next to him that he can just lean down. and
Yeah,
look out
pretty
at.
much.
I do think it would be okay to untie this one.
No.
I don't think it's a good idea. He could get into mischief, and besides, I don't think there's anything to be gained from untying him.
As he continues, I don't understand, emissaries. Have you not been sent by the half-dragon, by the prophet? I don't recognize you, but I recognize your tongue.
The half-dragon?
Gludvarj Malarunk will reactivate the Hunter Gate so we can reunite with the rest of our clan. But I don't understand. I am not blessed with the tongue. Please, what must I do?
With Alcetta and lore, would I know what the Hunter Gate is?
Well, roll me one. Roll me a Laurel Seta.
Going to be a hand you this silver thingy.
I will take your session roll, thank you.
You are welcome.
I'm hoping that people aren't redeeming for like hero points, and I just don't see that on my phone, because I'm almost positive this was the setup I had in the first place, and people could redeem it fine.
16.
With a 16, you would know that a Hunter's Gate very well could refer to a portal. Way way back when this elven pantheon with Alceta and all of this was just like their main form of worship, even like pre-Earthfall, way back when, there were some gates that Kalmont also kind of referred to, and that these gates were long-range transportation. They were basically standing portals that you could just walk through like a doorway from one country to a different one. And Hunter's Gate, that name in particular, does not ring anything to you, but it certainly fits with what you've put together so far as what may have been the name of a portal. And the fact that he knows not only they appear to have used it, but even understand it, is somewhat concerning.
Resme will relay all of that to you. You will see her looking very, very concerned, like almost grave.
Mm-hmm.
These are ancient magics that have been around since the history of this world. It doesn't make any sense that they would have any comprehension of it whatsoever. I don't understand what's going on.
Well, clearly this
The half-dragon.
strange named half-dragon.
We're gonna
seems
call
to be
him
the-
GM. Wait, that's not gonna work.
That's not going to work. But Gludrudge, Ma... You want to just tell it to me again?
I'm calling him Mal.
Gludvarge.
Gludvarge.
Just put it in all caps. You'll get it.
Malarunk
Nope, calling him Mal.
is what he has said to you.
Malaruk. Runk or Ruck?
Malarunk.
Malarunk.
So,
Apparently he's the...
There's a challenge of note-taking.
I know, right?
A name that does not in any way translate to English and seems to be nearly random syllables.
Curious that. So it seems as though that the cult leader is the one who knows how to activate the ring, and he did not share this information with his followers, possibly because they don't have the capacity to understand, or he doesn't trust them, or both. But it also seems as though he is trapped, as for what they said, trying to free him. So it seems as though that when the stairs collapsed, he may have been trapped on the bottom floor. Hopefully the architecture is as strange and at the same time amenable as we may suspect, and through the crypt we may find a way to the lower levels. If that's the case, then I think we'll be in good shape.
If he's trapped down there, wouldn't he just turn the gate back on and go back?
One would think there must be something stopping him, or at least it could be that they're simply operating under a misapprehension. Maybe he was crushed in the burial in the stairs, much as his dragon dog pet was.
well, there's only one way to find out.
I know, Esphis. I know there's a lot of talking and not a lot of doing, but they're getting to it.
But if we see more of this type of symbolism, I think I'll be able to have some sort of rudimentary understanding of it from my studies, at least.
And Tyrannus doesn't really participate in this. Just shakes his head a bit. I do not understand any of this. So, Hellknight citadels do not contain any portals. I have no transit, no transportation. Do you not think if such a thing was available, I would simply have done that to get here?
It appears that this particular fortress might have been built because of the existence of this portal.
That would explain why they went through such trouble to come all the way out here.
It would make a lot of sense. These
But
portals
then
are
why
powerful.
abandon it?
It's a curious...
Perhaps they lost the ability to use
If
it.
this is a teleportation network of some kind, that has near infinite value.
Well, only if you know how to use it. Perhaps
Or-
the Hell Knights discovered its existence, but not its use. It could be that they were researching it here, and it could also be that someone else figured out how to use it first, in such a way as to make staying here dangerous.
That would be my apprehension.
But we would have records of this.
Why?
Not necessarily.
Such a thing would surely be classified. Imagine the embarrassment. So many gold crowns worth of men and materials spent for no gain. It would be very embarrassing for whoever idea it was.
And it would explain the sudden loss of interest in such a grand fortress.
My people also went through great pains to keep such things a secret from their enemies.
The lictor knew of my intent to come here. If such a thing existed, surely he would have told me.
Even if he knows about it, perhaps it was even above his pay grade, so to speak.
Possibly, but with a lictor and a Mar-lictor here, I would think that the rank wouldn't be an issue. Moreover, it could simply be that he didn't expect that you would find it or learn about it. Certainly, a strange series of events had to happen for us to be aware.
Well, if I'm to understand the situation correctly, had the Cinderclaws not collapsed the stairs, I would have simply waltzed down into the portal chamber.
It might not have necessarily been active. You wouldn't have understood what you were looking at.
You definitely would not have understood what you were looking at.
Well, also, we are speculating quite a bit. Perhaps as we explore, we'll learn more.
Yeah, we probably better go look. I mean, there's not much else we can learn here.
Came here looking for a ring.
And we're going to
from
find
my
one.
grandfather,
We're going
and
to find
we
a
are
much grander ring than we expected.
going to find portals.
This is so exciting. I cannot. Oh, sorry.
Well, not to mention the draconic clergy. This is fascinating. It's actually rarer than you might think. Most draconic cults are simple
I'm just
emulation
walking
practices.
Master, I think.
And the one of the Cinderclaws that you had left a bowl of water for is just at this point trying to get his little. He has a simian face. It's not particularly well built for trying to drink out of a bowl while his entire body is bound. So he's trying to do it without drowning himself. And running into some amount of difficulty, it seems. So he's stopped talking for the time being.
I'm going to grab my water skin and remove the gag off the other one and at least give him water.
As you open it up, he doesn't say anything other than just to glare at you, but not super willing to die of thirst here. Will certainly take water from you.
It may be wise to re-gag that one.
Yes, when I'm done.
Yeah, we wouldn't want him poisoning our cooperative companion with ideas such as we aren't who he thinks we are.
Exactly.
So he gets a drink. He gets re-gagged. You can lay here and be sad. We'll figure out what to do with you eventually.
Hey, get that portal working. Just
Yeah, just send them back.
be free.
Master Dolren,
Yes, Resme.
thank you for teaching me and helping me learn more.
Of course. Certainly, it's not something I'm used to, but you're an apt student, so a joy to teach.
Really? She'll kind of glow at you a little.
Well, you've come quite a long
feel
way.
as perhaps we should keep our minds on the task at hand.
This is the long walk to the other side of the hallway.
If there are not only more of these cultists, but whatever passes as their leader still left before us, we need to be prepared for a fight.
And the necromantic wards of your ancestors.
Speaking of being prepared for a fight, Tyrannus, how are you feeling? Are you in tip-top shape yet?
I am fine now. My face is sore, thanks to the cube. I certainly hope there are no more of these oozes, but otherwise...
I just want to make sure everyone's prepared in case we do encounter undead.
I'm good to go.
I can't imagine that could be an issue. The kobolds, they opened the crypt and nothing happened. They didn't take anything from the crypt, but
I think as we were afraid of, the Cinderclaws may have disturbed quite a bit more than the kobolds did, and as much as our kobold friends seemed eager to help, I wouldn't necessarily trust them to be reliable witnesses.
well, still, in such a situation, if the crypts were being robbed, they would stand in defense, strike down the intruders, and lay themselves to rest. They do not simply stand around waiting for explorers to bumble into the crypt again.
No.
That's
What
a
would be the
shame.
purpose of that?
Well, certainly not. I mean,
Entertaining at parties.
If nothing has made sense so far in Citadel Altaria, let's hold that one thing to be constant.
ha!
Was that
Well said.
sarcasm?
Possibly just relaying a pattern in recent events.
But he is not wrong. Very well.
Like we were before?
That too.
Down the stairs.
Perhaps
Again,
straight
you-
across.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just straight across.
Straight across out of the first of the entryways here.
Treat this the same as we did the other half.
So you still have these three weird little angled hallways. And as you make your way down once again, they end in a door. Just as absolutely all of them have done previously. Fortunately, symmetry seems to be holding true here,
Seems to be.
making this at least a little bit simpler. And as this simple wooden door creaks open, as we're exploring here, are we sticking with our same exploration actions, recalling knowledge, scouting?
Yep.
Shield.
Raising your shield, searching, and detecting magic?
Yep.
Then let me fix the camera. For the 45th time. And,
You can almost do it without looking, actually, at this point.
well, what I've gone to at this point is I've just left the mouse so it is on that button, so I just have to find the mouse and click it twice. I barely, it's fortunately a relatively easy fix. It's just irritating. I have to do it every literally 5 minutes. But I don't understand why, of all things, not only has the problem reappeared, it has gotten 40 times worse than it's ever been.
Yeah.
With absolutely no changes other than removing what I was pretty sure was the source of the issue before last week. Oh well. Anyway, this gives way into exactly what you were all probably expecting.
Crypts.
This is very clearly the crypt. Though this is not occupied by rows of notches in the walls or racks of tombs or anything. In the center of this room, there are simply 4 large monuments looming in the shadows with only your light sources to illuminate them. Each with prominent carvings of black-winged angels and assortments of stylized pentagrams across their forms. Each of them has a burnished bronze plaque set into the floor in front of them. And atop the northern wall next to you as you come in, the words Sepulchre of the Nail are carved in a very thick relief directly into the stone of the wall itself.
All right.
As the door opened, you would detect magic.
There's some sort of ambient magic in here. Rogue, do you want to take a stab at trying to figure out what it is?
I believe we could figure that out. It shouldn't be too difficult.
So-
Tyrannus, do you have any clue as to what it might be? If it's in the crypts, I don't want to disturb it.
Their gear, I would assume. These must have been high-ranking Hell Knights of the Order, and most are interred with the items of significance to them, frequently weapons, suits of armor.
Well, disturbing those would trigger the wards, would it not? Furthermore, perhaps that magic you detect is the wards.
Possible.
That's why it would be nice to distinct between the two.
That's a very
That is
clever
also-
argument for grave robbing, Rur.
I don't want to touch the graves. I want to find the wards. I don't want to disturb the wards.
I'll go with it.
Enough.
So, would Read Aura go through the crypts?
Read Aura, it is an object that you can identify. So if there
So I
were
have to
things,
hold it.
yeah, well, you don't have to hold it, but you have to be able to identify it. So if, like, hypothetically, there was a body with a weapon and armor in the crypt, you couldn't read Aura without opening the crypt because A, line of effect is a thing, and B, you don't even know what's in there.
Okay.
So you can't read Aura. You can't use it as like a narrow down the area. You can't read Aura, the crypt, and everything in it.
Yeah.
It is one particular object. So you could read the sepulchre itself, which is not magical. But if you stand here for a minute and take in the room with it, nothing that you can see would appear to have any kind of a magical aura to you.
Okay. Well, if taking a minute to purposely scan the room and see if I find anything and nothing appears, I'm going to make the educated decision that it's likely gear that is inside of the crypts, and it's best that we leave it be.
Indeed. Let's continue then.
I don't want to accidentally walk over a ward and suddenly we have undead Hell Knights trying to kill us.
That would be something to avoid, yes.
Before we turn that
Still.
corner up ahead, dear Resme, could I borrow your mirror again?
Of course.
And you can see, of course, that this rectangular room here to your left as you enter doesn't have a door so much as just a massive arched stone awning that leads further into the crypts to where certainly the second of the hallways, if the understanding of the basement's layout is to be kept with, would have led to directly.
Okay.
I look awful. Take it away.
It's just the lighting, I assure you, my dear. And Dalrin's going to slide up to that corner right ahead and just kind of peek around it just to see if there's anything, any movement or anything that he can detect.
So who's got the light on them at the moment?
Dalrin has light
has
on him.
Dalrin has light, right?
Jeez.
For some reason, I figured out the problem. It's when I toggle it on, it goes into Omega Wumbo mode until I move the token, which is what has continued causing me so many problems.
Can we call it Omega Wumbo mode from now on?
I'd be offended if you didn't.
Thank God.
Omega Wumbo mode.
Mm-hmm.
But
Wumbology.
now that I know that, that's a very easy fix. I just have to move the token very briefly. So, Rur and Dalren are the two that have light on them, right?
Mhm.
You were the two that would be bearing this. The light bearers.
Yes.
All right, so I can just make sure we've got light in all of the right places here. And Esphis does not have it. Although the good news is that Arkenforge here does make it incredible. And Buddy does not have it right now. Arkenforge does make it incredibly easy to toggle who does and does not have light. So I'm super thankful for that after roll 20s. Very slow, massively laggy. I have to open the token,
Right-click
and then
on
I
token,
have to
open
open
advanced
its
menu.
settings, and then I have to go to the lighting tab, and then I have to change a number, and then I have to
Two
save
numbers.
changes. 2 numbers, and then I have to save changes instead of just I click the it light button on the token. It remembers the light ahead previously, and it's just literally a toggle. It's so easy. So, as you peer up to this corner here, you do, of course, have your light on you. And I will just move us down a little bit to represent what you can see here.
Okay.
Peering around the corner, you can look into a much larger main crypt area, it seems. The southern wall of this hallway, that just like the entryway, is extending off into the darkness before you to the east, has a huge relief carving that you can only see the right side of. But you can see a series of concentric rings of spikes, of spines of some kind around something. You can't see what the center of that is quite yet.
Okay.
And the flooring, once you get to the center of that hall, is a rack of flagstones that appear to be engraved with something on their tips, or on their tops. Or from this distance, you can't read what they are. Fairly safe assumption. They look like they come out of the floor. They're quite possibly, or almost certainly rather, the caps of smaller graves
Right.
set into the floor itself. There is another hallway leading down to the south, to your right, as you peer around this corner with the mirror, that you can barely make out where that could lead. But it's a much smaller, near rectangular doorway leading into an area that looks like it opens up beyond.
And no, no movement or nothing. moving
But
up.
you don't see any actual movement or anything, no.
Seems relatively clear.
Shall we go look around?
Yes, I think so.
See, it is as I told you. These wards, if they're even still functioning based on what you told me from upstairs, they are quite simple in function. They would have no reason to interact with us if we have done nothing to trigger them.
Oh, well, excellent.
I want to go take a look at the symbols that are on the ground.
So you want to head into the room, Doran's where you're going?
Yeah.
And I assume Buford's probably coming, and Tyrannus would stop back here in front of these as well. Tyrannus would definitely want to have a look at these larger sepulchres. Rare and Esvin, where are you going?
I would want to come into the main room.
Okay, so you come with everybody else here. Esvis?
I'll stand next to Tyrannus, not looking at the sepulchres, but just kind of putting myself in the middle
Taking
to keep a
that
watch.
area.
Mhm.
And as you look down across each of these labels, they all appear to be massively intricate nameplates, denoting who is left within here interred. The first of which is the Mistress of Blades, Marina Delphine. Second, the Master of Blades, Max Vaselli, Max with 2 X's. And then the Paraviker and the Paralictor, Matthew and David Holden.
Tyrannus, do any of those names sound important or familiar to you?
Well, these are all very high titles. The Master of Blades and the Mistress of Blades are the order of an entire unit of the orders in Eldritch. They are the second highest ranking members there is. So, Citadel Altarian was a place of great importance for them not only to have come here, but to be interred here. And of course, Paralictor and Paraviker higher ranking roles than any Cedar in Citadel Right. And he, as you're reading this, he actually kneels down on one knee, almost reverently, and just with one gauntlet brushes a bit of the dust off of the third of these, the Paraviker, David Holden. These names I'd only vaguely recognize from my studies. I'll admit I am not a spectacular student.
Maybe this place was more important than even you believed.
Well, if it does turn out that this circle was here as we were thinking, then it would make sense for such high-ranking individuals to have been here.
And he's still looking at this as the group of you in the front here move a little further into the chamber. And with that, as your light presses farther forward, you reveal standing shapes. What look to be people kitted in simple armor. Simple but uniform. Breastplates, greaves, gauntlets, very similar to what Tyrannus has on himself. They are completely motionless, like statues, but they are standing kind of scattered throughout the hallway in no particular organization.
This way?
Tyrannus, that thing you said about the dead not just standing around?
And as you say that, and what do you have the light on here? It's like a
It's my
gauntlet.
glove.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
glove. To hold this forward, you reveal more and more of these racked backwards. You hear a voice hiss out from the darkness.
Formations! Flanks forward! Hold the line!
And all of the bodies, the suits of armor, rattle to life and animate, turning towards you. Swords and shields prepared.
Oh, hell.
Tyrannus?
That certainly would have gotten everyone's attention, to be certain. And with that, well, hold on. I see you with the D20. You got the D20 cocked and ready. Hold off on that, because I think before we begin, we should quite possibly take our midstream break here.
Good
I
plan.
really
good
do
plan.
have to pee.
I also really have to pee, so that's my tiny, sad, childlike bladder will make sure that we take breaks relatively near when we're supposed to, because I seriously cannot hold it for much longer than that. But thank you to all of you being here, persisting through of our assorted technical issues here. I'm going to try my hardest to, I guess, throw more solutions at the wall for this camera thing before next week, as I have no consistency as to when it works and when it doesn't. Unfortunately, you've got restarting it down to a pretty simple process now that's not terribly invasive, even if I have to do it a lot. But extra shout-outs to those over on patreon.com/2perception who have given me a wide variety of these fancy names here that I now get to immortalize in a Hell Knight crypt.
Ooh.
Nice.
I get to go down this whole list of these. Everyone who's on the $5 tier or higher throws these NPC names into a pool, and we get fantastic things like Bloodvarge. That's fantastic to apply to a cult leader. Or David and Matthew Holden, or Max, who you can probably guess who that's from if you're from my channel. It's not a hard guess. It's exactly who you think it is, but I'm honestly kind of reticent about saying his name on the
Don't worry
Parzo
about
channel
it.
for family-friendly reasons. But thank you, all of you guys. And I bring this up now because it is leap year day. It's the extra day in February we get once every 4 years, which means the 1st is tomorrow, and all of that stuff cycles on the 1st. So if you want to throw your own names into the pool to show up either in the Age of Ashes here on our Saturday show or the Extinction Curse that we're now running on Mondays, if you sign up on that Patreon and help us out today, I'm collecting those NPC names tomorrow because it runs everything on the 1st. So this is a fantastic time to immediately see return on your investment. That said, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay tuned. Surely this only goes well, right?
It can only possibly go well.
Welcome back, everybody, and we are diving right in here to a very unfortunate situation involving a whole bunch of skeletons. So here's a whole bunch of generic tokens.
Oh, yeah, there they are.
Skeletons will come in the future. And I'm going to need a lot of initiative trackers. I'm going to apologize in advance to the audience here, because with my current initiative tracking system, you're not going to be able to see... Holy crap, the camera's still working. You're not going to be able to see the entirety of our initiative table, because it's going to go like here to here. This is our first big old mass battle. But what is standing before you now, thanks to Paizo's super awesome little bestiary cards,
Ooh.
I can put this up here, and it has the full art on the front of it, so you guys can see exactly what it looks like. But they are skeletons. These look very much like what you had met upstairs, in that they're piles of bones that are standing up that have no crazy distinguishing features or anything. But these ones are, of course, kitted in arms and armor, unlike the prisoners you had fought on the first level, who had nothing but their clawed hands to scrabble at you with, and barely even that because they sort of disappeared instantly under the withering holy light of Sarenrae.
Do you want to put it on the other side of Jen
Go over here.
so that we can see?
It's gonna be kind of this.
Okay.
I may put it down here itself. I don't have to keep it up here. I suppose I can just show you and put it back down. Or I could just leave it here so I can look at it, because it has stats on it that are nice.
I
Well,
can
you
hold
can
that
put
for
it
you.
next to Jen. I mean, it's not like Derp can see that far.
Yeah, I actually can't read any of that.
It's true. I suppose I could put them on. Well, then you'll... That's true.
I'm very not good eyesighted.
Very not good eyesight.
You should know that I can see through cards.
Okay. Well, then you get to measure
That's
all
how
the
you
stats.
always
Like,
beat.
even actively trying to read that, I could not tell you a single number or letter on that card.
That's impressively bad eyesight, comrade. You
Have
should
you
go to
seen
an
him?
optometrist.
Have you seen him trying to read dice that are in
So,
front of him?
Let's get some initiatives here.
Oh, right.
Now,
thing.
I imagine everyone, as the light just revealed these and they came to action, is going to be rolling perception. I don't think there's any other real opportunities here. So
And we get +1 because somebody
you get
was
+1
scouting.
because Esvis is scouting. He was standing back there at the ready and maybe would have just barely seen them come out of the darkness first. Buddy!
I get 16.
Ready? Rrr.
25.
Esvis.
24.
You got one up, boy. All right.
19.
You're probably going to want to move me like way farther over because there's going to be a lot of skeletons
Yeah,
in
I
here.
imagine skeletons are probably not going to beat these rolls. So I'm going to put these way over here. I'm going to put you 19 way over here. Resume.
12.
Still going to put you pretty far over
Well,
here.
you can barely see them
He's
from
got
where
a chance.
You are.
He's got a chance. He's got a chance.
Tyrannus!
Do it, man.
Tyrannus!
Believe in the you that believes in me.
Buddy, what'd you get?
16.
Oh,
Tyrannus is in the middle of the board.
moving up in the world.
Sorry.
Your boy got you.
Yeah, no, my arm was just blocking it. So everyone could just see fur.
It's like, hi, I hope you like the view.
Here meeting. What is my initiative? Where's the orange 2? Oh well. Red 2. Not a huge problem.
There's
We'll
a
just
thing
have to-
down there. It's
Those are the extra pinks. I don't know where my orange 2 is. Oh well.
on the floor.
Yeah, I don't know where it ended up. That's fine. We'll use
Squids
the other
ate it.
color. Squids ate it. So. Skeleton number 1. What did you get, Esmus?
20.
Where are you at 26?
25.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Them some celerity bones.
Be fast. Skeleton 2. Dalren, you were.
19.
Is going to be a 3 because I don't know where the 2 is.
It's because we can't see the 2 is what it is. The light only goes so far.
He's
It's,
hiding.
it's when you can't see the 2, you know what's coming for you.
Then. I can actually bring these in a little ways. Because I'm just going to have the horde of skeletal soldiers all just kind of together. Here. simplicity's sake, so I don't have to put 27 more initiative tickers up here.
It's a lot of skeletons.
They have bones to pick with us.
So, as this begins, as they reveal themselves, this first skeleton here you hear giving orders, him rasping out in a rattling common. Not speaking any... There is a language of the dead. There is, of course, infernal. He is speaking clear as day common, commanding the skeletons around him forward from the darkness. Rur.
I'm just gonna hold. There's nothing directly in front of me. I'm not ready to pounce on him quite yet.
All right, Esphus.
Well, I will get this party started then. And the most forward of skeletons here, I will hunt prey.
Okay.
And then I will use Hunter's Aim, which is 2 actions to ignore any cover, just in case.
All right. So all these graves here on the map are set into the floor, so it's basically an empty hallway. So we'd have soft cover from the fact that Buford and Dalren are in the way. But there's nothing up in the hall that's blocking him. So it is just a +1 that he's got from your teammates being there.
Okay. Oh, you foul tempter, you. I'll bring Dodeka. So I'll do the hunted shot for 1 action.
Okay.
Okay, so first shot. 25.
25 will hit.
And second shot is a flat 10.
10 will not hit.
Okay, so shot is 5 points of damage.
So as you hit with this arrow, and hit is a word that I use kind of judiciously here. He is an upright skeleton. Your arrow pierces through his ancient armor, but just pierces straight through. Coming out of the back, losing most of its force and tumbling to the ground. It's just passed through the bones inside and dealing only a single point of damage. And also, Arcadis here has cashed in to give a hero point to Dalren, which is a reminder that's been the GP system has been moved to the bottom left corner of your chat. There is the channel points down there, which you generate just from watching any show on this channel, from bonuses from being subscribed or following, and it is now just intrinsically linked to Twitch. There's no external thing running this. At any time, any of you can give a hero point to any of these fine players here, or a villain point to myself to do bad things to them with.
I'll go on ahead and step back in.
So you want to step in and dress? You still got an action left.
And I'll take a third shot.
Okay.
For even less, so no. I'll miss. Those last two miss.
Do you have low light? You're an elf, right? You have low light?
Yes, I have low light
Okay,
vision.
that's what I think. I was just double checking because they're like on the edge of the torchlight, so they're in dim light, but you ignore that. All right, so Rur then, seeing these arrows fly forth.
All right. Something you wouldn't expect to need to use in the crypt. I'm going to channel Divine Reach to push Disrupt Undead out there far enough to reach one of these skeletons. I'm going to
The
hit...
one right front and center is the one that you hit, right? And he's taking 1 damage.
I'm going to hit the same one to make Esphus feel a little better about his damage.
Speaking of being subscribed, and speaking of channel points, holy crap, Miko Rems, quick shout out for the 5 gift subs. Thank you.
Wow.
That's pretty neat. And does that hit or does he make a saving throw?
Makes it safe.
Okay, what?
Basic Fortitude.
Basic Fortitude. What's your DC, buddy?
19.
He critically failed.
Woo!
He's enfeebled.
Yeah, he's enfeebled 1.
Okay.
And he takes 2d6 plus 6.
Of just damage? Or?
Yeah, just... It's...
Oh, it's if he's undead, he just takes a bunch of damage. 2d6 plus 6.
I need a 6.
I can save you a small amount of effort and that he is most certainly exploding.
Well... Alright, so he took 28 damage.
Okay, yeah, see?
5, 10, plus 4, doubled 28.
Because he critically failed, so he's taking double damage from it. Yeah, the doubled 6, there was no universe he was surviving that one. So, before he even got into the dice. So this first one here, with the Disrupt Undead, just...
Look at that arrow, it did so
shatters.
much.
It just explodes. Bones flying throughout the room as this spell racks it, and its skull ratchets back in a soundless scream before seriously just shattering bones forcefully against the stone walls here. Hard enough to chip some of the ancient stone and away and scratch across the walls in the area around you. this does not seem to bother the.
I'm just going to look
Rest
at
of
my
the
left hand
skeletons.
like I was not expecting that to happen, but it works. I like
Siren Ray
it.
compels you! Bam!
Saren Ray's like stepping in on Asmodeus's turf. She's motivated.
And that's 3 actions,
That's
because
3.
reach is an extra. Right, meta magics are an extra action now. So that brings us to Dalren.
All right, so
We'll just say that the other time spent for my round was me just looking in awe at my hand.
So Dalren, having recently pilfered the Hell Knight's armory, he's going to rummage around in my bag and pull out a flask of Lesser Alchemist Fire. And I'm just going to chuck that thing right down the hallway to blast into the middle of the ranks.
So that's a thrown range increment of 20.
20.
So you were going to be right into third. I think they're a little over 40 away from you. 5, 10, 15,
looks
20,
like I'm in
30.
the- at the
Oh,
end
yeah,
of the second.
third, if you want to hit the one there, the one there on the right in the front. Yeah, you are in the second. So you'd be taking a -2 for that throw.
I will do that. So, okay, that's a 3 on the die, so that's going to be a grand total of 11.
11 is going to miss, but it's not going to critically miss, which means he is still going to take the splash damage.
Excellent.
This is an alchemist fire, and the bones and the old metal of the armor, none of which is even remotely flammable, does seem to largely resist it, and it's just slightly phased by the heat itself being able to do a little bit of damage to the thing.
In the flash of the fire, can I see where that commander skeleton happens to be?
It's. I don't think an alchemist fire is particularly bright. It's more like napalm. It's like hot liquid. It's not actually putting off any light.
Okay.
It's alchemically hot,
Fair
rather
enough.
than for being actually burning. Alchemist's fire is a bit of a misnomer, kind of.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Okay.
when it lights stuff on fire, it's because it's heating it up.
Well, if it catches fire, they
Yeah.
certainly put out light. But if they critically succeeded here, I think even his normal hit would set him on fire.
And for my third action, the monocle comes off.
Oh, he rages.
And lightning crackles up about him.
I love that the monocle comes up when you get mad. It makes me so happy.
But I'm going to keep the lightning away from my weapons.
All right.
And so I'm only going to get +2 damage, and I'm just not going to go all lightning.
Fair enough. So, as that explodes in the front line here, you hear another, certainly distinct voice calling out, "Our duty does not end in death. Forward!" And the bones pull together from around the room to stand back up from the skeleton that Roar had obliterated.
Is he still enfeebled?
I'll give it to you. I'm unsure if dying removes the enfeebled condition, but I'll give it to you. Tyrannus, hearing all of this, turns around, standing up quickly, reaching back for his halberd he'd laid on the ground as he was inspecting the sepulchres, and sees down the hall what we're facing. And he takes a step, almost tentatively, forward, but stops and holds himself, blade out in hand, towards the undead, but doesn't say anything, and certainly does not rush forward into battle by any means. Buddy.
Well, I'm going to wait right here for these. Well, actually, there's a lot of squishy people behind me. I've got a hammer. I'm going to draw out that silver hammer.
Okay.
So I loop one hammer, draw out my silver hammer, because that's a thrown hammer. I'm just gonna shuck that thing down there. And
This is a light hammer, that's not a war hammer.
Yeah.
You can just pitch that thing.
Yep.
What's the throwing range on that? Is it 20?
20.
Okay, so since you are on the... Oh, well, now this one in front has been raised again.
It's very convenient.
He is within the second range increment, so you can certainly throw that at a -2.
Okay. Oof. I am not good at throwing hammers, actually.
It's really dark.
And that's a 2 on the die, which would be an 11.
An 11 is certainly going to miss. As you pitch this hammer down as it's coming back together, and it just clatters loudly across the floor in the back.
I'm gonna take out
Sounding
my
like
war
it's
hammer
falling
again.
into a hole.
What? Okay. Well, Weird. Okay. And then I'm going to take out my Warhammer again. Just wait for them to get here.
Resume also in the back here. You see Tyrannus kind of move a little forward and almost freeze, but you can hear these orders being given. You can hear the rattling bones. You can certainly hear the explosion where Brr just blew one of them up immediately.
Resume is gonna move up beside Buddy. And she's gonna hold because that's not within her magical range, and she's not rushing in there.
Fair enough. And with that, the skeletons rush forth from the darkness. Fortunately, near all of them having to use, well, all of them actually having to use 2 move actions to get there. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 5, 10, 15, 20. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Forming a front line before you with their swords and shields. They've only got 1 action apiece to attack. So there are going to be 2 of them focusing upon each flank here. So 2 coming your way, Dalren. What is your AC?
AC is 19. The monocle adds +1 AC.
Oh, that's pretty nice. Probably should keep it on then, I'd imagine. As they collapse, one of these is going to connect. The other is not. And you are going to suffer 4 damage.
And I look at that skeleton, and I'm like, now, you see here, skeleton. You should be laying peacefully in your grave here. I don't want to be messing up things.
The skeleton is still going to hit Dalren, as he is was once a Hell Knight, very dedicated to his cause.
That wasn't the enfeebled one, was it?
Though he is, no, the enfeebled one will be in the middle.
Okay.
So he is going to only deal a single point of damage because you are going to reduce all of it, and he is now also enfeebled too. We'll say that's the very bottom one. So the bottom one is enfeebled 2, the middle one is enfeebled 1.
Okay.
And you take 1 single point of damage.
It came up by temporary hit points.
The 2 on the top, swinging in towards Resme.
So I don't get to act because I held.
You moved.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, okay. Then can I have
Could
throw?
ready
can
an
I-
Well,
single action.
you could act after their initiative. You did move, but
I would have thrown a shield up if I hadn't known that I was
Okay.
going to be able to act.
so we have, yeah. If you take any actions, you can't do it.
Okay,
So we'll
thank
say you
you.
have a shield up.
Yeah, that's all I
So
would
with the +1, then what's your AC?
Yes, 18.
18. Not bad. One of them is going to hit you as well. His ancient sword dealing 6 damage.
So at this, you'll all see something really interesting happen. When he comes down and connects with Resme, you'll actually see a ghostly image of someone you recognize, the form of her brother, come up and bodily take the hit for her and absorb all of it. And she looks almost completely unharmed.
Interesting. Probably more disturbing to the party than the skeletons who don't seem to mind and are continuing to follow the orders, but neat all the same. So no real damage taken by you, actually.
Correct. Just my temp.
And then Buford, one of them in the middle, swinging at you. I don't believe your shield is raised. What's your AC?
19.
19 as well. He is going to miss, fortunately. You've got some pretty sturdy armor, and even without your shield up, with your friends at your sides here, they can't really bring these numbers down at you like they are at Resme and at Dalren. And following this, from behind, comes forth one of the commanders. Still barking orders as he advances. A towering shield on one side with a halberd wielded in one hand, pointed up forward as he advances. Circle round. Seek the mages. Flank them. And moves to a position up here, focusing his attacks towards Resme specifically. You are at 19, you said?
18.
18 now? Okay.
I was always 18. 17
I'm
plus
the
1.
19.
Oh, you're the. He also has to use 2 actions to get to you as he advances down the hallway before reaching past, fighting rank and file with his men in front of him in a practiced maneuver. Now these skeletons, we fought skeletons upstairs and certainly didn't have any weapons or gear, but they seem near mindless undead, just flailing. These skeletons are fighting together as a unit. Their shields kept up, forming a front at the line here. Their scimitars striking together precisely, but cautiously, not overextending as they work to outnumber their opponents here at the front, and leaving space for their commander to reach through with his halberd striking. They're fighting like a drilled military unit, not like a bunch of skeletons. And this halberd is going to come down with a flash, and fortunately for you, that is going to miss. All right, that brings us to Esmus.
Hunt prey on the leader.
There we go.
Probably an okay idea.
And hunted shot and a regular shot for my remaining 2 actions.
Okay.
Let him up. First shot. 25.
25 will hit.
Oh, that's right. Volley, so minus 2, I
20,
believe?
yeah, 23. 23.
So 23? Okay, so 23. Oh, frown. Second shot misses, and for 3 points of damage.
All right. Now, oddly, the commanders seem to have more substance to them. They seem to be more inside their armor than just bones. And your arrow thuds in like it would to flesh, dealing full damage.
Okay. And third shot.
Is it 3 damage?
Yes.
Okay.
The total is it's a 19 on the die, but with my penalties and the volley comes to a total of 20.
20 will hit.
Okay.
And I misspoke. The commanders don't have shields. They just have their halberds.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say, I was really ungainly.
For another 3 points of damage.
All right. As your arrows land true on him, Rur. I have to ask. I'm pretty sure
I'm already holding the
This is your moment. This is your moment.
Suffer not the undead curse. May your rest be long and peaceful. For 7, healing to us and damage to them.
All right, so I'm going to make a bunch of will saves here, because half of that actually does not kill.
Doesn't heal our
frontliner, 'cause
temporary.
half of D3. So, what's the DC?
DC for that? 19.
19 for the heal. All right.
It's just
So,
me casting. So.
Top skeleton is dead. Second skeleton is dead. Middle skeleton is dead. Oop.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my
Falling
god.
over. Everything is dead. Everything is collapsed now. Second to bottom skeleton is dead. All right, the whole front line.
Just evaporates.
The whole front line collapses.
Wow.
Every one of them being brought down by this wave of healing energy here.
Betcha he feels dumb now.
All collapsing simultaneously. But as this wave overwhelms them, they shatter. They burst forcefully. And I need a reflex save from everybody on the front line here. Resme, Buddy, and Doran.
20.
I have a 14.
I have a 25.
Okay, so you critically succeed. The Resme will take no damage, and Dolren and Buford, you both succeed. So you will be taking half of 3 of the explosions that are in range of each of you. Fortunately, Resme, quick with her shield, is able to literally avoid all of it. So that will be half of this is 6 slashing damage to each of you from just the bones being sent, blasted across you.
Honestly, bones explode in my face all the time. Totally expected.
You fight a lot of undead then.
And the commander in the back will also take such damage. Because he is also an undead that is here.
I wonder if they would like roll 1 and then it kills the one next to it and then kills the one next to it. Like firecrackers.
So that brings us to Dalren.
All right. Well, Dalren is feeling. I'm feeling rather enheartened. 1, because the entire front line of skeletons went away, and 2, because I was afraid that this commander guy is as resistant as his line troopers, but it's apparently not the case.
Not appear to be.
So,
They didn't seem very resistant in the first place.
I'm going to heft that geese arm and swing and just dig the hook of it into his neck there.
Alright.
And give you... First, put this in the jail die. Dice jail.
Prison.
Prison
The
for
first
you.
of our dice goes into jail for
Let
the
me
day.
give you a reroll token. That's a little better. That's a 20 to hit.
A 20 will connect.
All right, and that's going to be 4 plus 5 is 9 slashing damage.
Alright. 9 he will take. And with this, you're battering away his ancient armor. It looks like it hasn't held up to the incredible amount of time he's been here terribly through. You're rending through it reasonably easily with you, Gusam. And
Go ahead.
he is nearly stricken down.
Oh, wow. All right, well, that's heartening. I'll bring it around and try to hit him again.
He has taken a lot so far. This guy's taken a bunch of hits.
It's not worth another one.
2 on the die.
Yeah, it's 2 on the die. That's going to go up to an 11 to hit.
11
That's not
is not
great.
going to connect.
So the last thing I'll do then is I'm going to drag the geese arm along the floor and just try to take his legs out from underneath him and go for a -10 trip attempt.
Woo!
Roll that 20.
Some boldness.
Oh, that's a 14.
14 fails, but does not critically fail, so
That's good.
you do not knock yourself down.
Do I get a knowledge check on him, or is it just another skeleton?
Yeah, knowledge check on him. He does seem to be a bit different, a bit more
Plus
in
9.
command of himself. Plus 9.
I'm assuming knowledge religion on the
Knowledge
undead.
religion, yes. So you critically succeed, actually. This skeleton clearly appears to have kept his sentience, obviously. He has all of his wisdom and his battlefield acumen he had in life. And he has an uncanny ability to command the rest of the skeletons. It doesn't seem like the frontline skeletons are anything different than your traditional mindless undead. It's just that this commander is somehow exerting his will upon them. Almost like they're an extension of his own consciousness. And also, as you've seen, they're so connected that they appear to have the ability to stand them back up to continue battling, to continue until the day is won. Beyond that, he does not appear to possess the resistances of a normal skeleton. He's not resistant to any type of magic. He's not resistant to any type of damage. The only thing he is innately resistant to is what you just cannot do to an undead, so that you can't paralyze or poison him because he's undead. But beyond that, go nuts.
What about friendship?
He's not immune to friendship. So,
Or positive energy, as it turns out.
another commander makes his way down from the darkness towards the front. One hand on his halberd, one hand raising. Rise! Rise and fight, you curs! Standing the skeleton directly in front of the other commander. Back up.
Oh, he's trying.
And Tyrannus doesn't move. Buddy.
I will move. I'm going to move so that I'm just opposite of Dalrin on the other side of the skeleton.
All right, and as you go to move through him, the commander reaches out with his halberd to take advantage of your lapse in guard.
Okay.
What is your...
19.
One off critting you. Good day. Good day to be buddy. He does not critically hit you, but he is going to strike you, and his halberd is going to deal 6 damage. In addition, as he hits, you feel like the tail end of your glimpse of redemption. You feel the weight of guilt standing against the force of law that is the Hell Knight's Order of the Nail. You reconsider your actions and your
Okay.
choices. Make me a will save.
Will save, you say. That is a 15.
The 15, as your mind is racked by this doubt, you are stunned 1.
Okay.
Which will apply immediately, meaning you only have 1 action left. In addition, as he commands this lion skeleton, the lion skeleton also takes an attack of opportunity.
Okay. Still 18. Still 19.
Yeah. He will critically succeed, actually.
God.
Commanded to take advantage of this opportunity. And he will hit you for, fortunately, a low roll, so only 6 total.
Okay.
But since he critically succeeded, it will disrupt your move action. So
Okay.
you stay there. You have 1 action left.
Oh, I bet I'm stunned, so I can't do. I can't act
you
while
had
stunned.
2 actions left. You're stunned 1, so you basically lose 1 immediately. I guess I didn't really need to give you the card. Stunned takes place immediately.
Oh, okay.
So you instantly lose 1 action, which leaves you with 1.
Okay, so I would
You can try to move again. You're not like disallowed from moving. The attack of opportunity just disrupted the move you were taking. A critically successful attack of opportunity disrupts the action that triggered it.
Yeah, you can't tell me what to do. I have my belief. I got my belief in Iomade. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to try and get around to the opposite side from Dalrin.
So with some pain and a lot of effort.
Over to there, right?
Yeah, on the opposite side of the skeleton. So that I'm flanking.
They're all
Yeah,
skeletons.
the flanking position.
No, the flanking position with Dalren here. Oh, forward. I
Yeah.
see. The opposite side of Dalren if you think you want to go the opposite side of Dalren.
Not opposite side of the skeleton from
Okay,
Dalrin.
there we go. So you move up next to the commander flanking normal skeleton. But that is your turn. Resume.
Resme, seeing the commander pulling up undead, gets a determined look in her eye, and her eyes will glow right, and she will yell out, "Exterminato de Telmro and Mundus," and she will cast Disrupt Undead.
Disrupt undead. All right. Who's
On
this?
the commander.
On the commander. The front commander?
new one or the?
The front commander.
The front, okay.
The one who
the
looks
that's-
like he's
the
about
one's
to go
pretty
down.
Injured, yeah. All
Go
right.
down like a punk.
That's you said will
Fort-
save? Fort
fort.
save? Fort save. What's your fort save?
19.
He is going to succeed.
Okay.
Should just be half down.
Yeah, it'll just be half
Quite
damage.
sure to is.
So that's 7. Do I add my spellcasting?
Yes, you
ability? So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
11, half of that, so he's going to take 5. That rounds down, and with that, that commander collapses down to the floor. Well and truly defeated.
And then she'll throw up a protective shield.
All right. With that, there's the one remaining skeleton who is flanked by everyone on the planet. And with this understanding, with this martial knowledge just imparted to him by his commanders, he's going to step in between Dalren and Resme, focusing his efforts still, as he was commanded, toward the caster. 18?
18.
18. He is going to hit.
I thought you were coming for me.
You,
You got a caster
They're-
jump up on the front line.
Yeah,
they got
true.
well, and they seem to be trying to focus their efforts. They're fighting again, surprisingly tactically. This is commander exerting his will upon them. They're trying to bring down priority targets at a time. So that's going to hit you for 6.
And I would glare at him like nobody's ever glared.
That's going to hit you for 1.
Again, this light pops out of her and seems to take the damage for her.
It's level plus 2
Oh,
reduced, right?
this is the same dude who was enfeebled in the first place.
Yes, right. He is actually enfeebled 1 already, so it's still gonna hit you for 1. That's not gonna change. That wouldn't have changed the attack roll, and it's reduced from 1 to 0, so still 1. So he would hit you for 5, and then Glimpse of Redemption, that he hits you for 1. They are having difficulty getting through the wall that is Iomadi's fate here.
She's really determined.
And with
here.
1 action left, and now enfeebled 2, he's gonna swing again.
He's gonna live out his dream.
Could you imagine hitting someone and actively getting weaker each time you hit them? Like,
Well, you got a natural 20. I still have to actually see if that is higher than your AC, though, because that might just be a regular success. So he's minus 5. It's a minus 1. So it's a 19 total. 19. Okay, so it is still a critical success. But then his damage is minus 2 because he's enfeebled. So he's going to crit you for 4 damage.
Oh, busted your false life.
I take 1 damage.
One thing
One
your
real
temporary
damage.
HP. Yeah, he's going to crit you for a whopping 4.
gave you a paper cut.
With this enfeebled 2, as he seems to barely be able to mount an offense any longer.
Resme gets like a little cut across her face.
Esvis.
Now that my prey is gone, I will hunt prey the commander in the far back.
All right.
And just drawing arrow after arrow, just let the volley fly.
Just gonna lay into this guy.
So first shot. 16?
16 is gonna miss.
Okay, second shot. Even lower. You know what? You're all about to go in jail.
I'm about to fill this jail.
And
Grab Severin by accident.
arrow, bird. And the last shot. 17.
17 also gonna miss.
Okay, you're still behaving. You two, however, are not.
Alrighty, that brings us back to Roar.
Well, I'm gonna give you a wild guess as to what I'm doing.
Does it involve the casting of a heal spell somewhere?
It might. It might involve the casting of a heal spell using 3 actions for 9.
Hey, I'm
And it hits everyone.
Alright, well, you re-delete the skeleton, who gets to stand up in between pulses of positive energy. Right here. And 30 feet is exactly enough to hit the commander in the back, who is going to succeed, so he's going to take 4. You made a save. I'm so proud of you, buddy. The commander has made a record-breaking 1 save.
Good job, man. Live the dream.
Alrighty, and as you just sit back here with your holy symbol in hand, continually channeling waves of positive energy to the room, Dalren.
I am helping.
MVP, it's great. All right, so this is going spectacularly well. Having a Saren right along with us is making this significantly easier.
Having one whole Saren Ray.
It's
One whole
crazy. Dalren's always pretty cocky, but now he's just completely confident, and he just strides into the room, right up into Gisarm range, and just brings that thing down on
as you
him.
move forward, you can see a series of these flagstone tombs in the floor have been lifted and slid aside, leaving holes underneath where ostensibly these skeletons had climbed forth. You can see the glimmer of Buddy's hammer in one of them.
Oh, okay. Very interesting.
But they're all back behind the commander, so they probably won't become relevant to this battle.
Is the commander standing, like, next to an open one?
They've all moved, like, very forward, so the nearest one's probably 15 feet.
Ah, okay.
Because, yeah, they had to move very forward to even go.
Would have been funny to kick him back in his grave, but
Go back to sleep!
I'll just settle for reroll to get rid of that 1.
Thanks, Arcadis.
Thank you, Arcadis.
Insta-burn.
We love you.
We need more hero points, Chad. The rolls are terrible. Fortunately, we have this Cleric of Serenade to hard carry.
Not much better. That's a 14.
14's not going to hit.
Take a second swing. You have failed me the last time. That's like a 13.
13 definitely not going to hit where a 14 did.
Do you want to use one mine?
No, I'm out of actions. I'm good. No, I got this one now.
Yeah, he had to stride forward, so that's all he got. All he's got for now.
You have a 20 showing. That might be promising.
So the commander is simply going to strike back at you, accepting this duel, lashing out this halberd. What is your AC?
19.
He is going to critically strike you.
Ouch.
The commanders are on a, like, even though their tactical abilities are part of the skeletons, they're on another level of combat ability. These were clearly either higher ranking or just much more skilled Hell Knights in life, because he is a master with the blade. And he is going to strike you for 24 damage.
Oof.
As he brings the halberd around, and you too are going to feel this weight of doubt as you stand before him and make me a will save.
Hey, that's going to be a 24.
24. Fortunately, you're able to withstand and do not give in to this. And he is going to lash one more time. He's also going to hit with the -5 and strike you for a further 10 damage.
Woof. Lauren gets knocked down to a knee. Kind of gets back up.
And then he will step back, bracing his halberd for whoever will follow to challenge him. Tyrannus is still almost frozen here. Oddly emotionless. He doesn't look like he's afraid. He just isn't moving. His hands, his gauntlets clenched around the blade of his halberd. As he almost just very gently rocks backward and forward. You can see his teeth gritted together with all of his might, and he just isn't moving. Buddy.
I'm gonna step up next to Dalrin. Put a hand on his back as I see he's taking this like just incredible hit. Put a hand on his back and kind of fill him with the like mending qualities of Iomade for frontliners.
She is here to keep her warriors alive.
And I'll raise my shield.
And so with your lay on hands, I believe, how much health does he have?
12 health.
Oh, 12 now.
Yeah, you get 12 health back now.
Fancy.
Rub
So
some
be
dirt
able-
on it.
Be able to run some holy dirt on it.
I can
Yeah.
almost take another critical hit.
Yep.
And,
And you have +2 AC for this
And you'll
round.
put your shield up. Resme.
Resme will move up just a little bit just to get in spell range.
Was that just literally a little bit? Okay.
Exactly.
Just a step forward, basically.
And she will cast out another ball of white light and cast Disrupt Undead on the last commander.
Alrighty, and he is going to make his save, which he's going to succeed again. Fortitude, quite sturdy.
9.
4 more?
Were those D6s?
Yeah.
36s, yeah. And
2d6.
that will bring
Yeah, I
us
thought
to
you rolled
Estes.
D4s for some reason.
Since he is still prey, the first shot I will actually I'll do that for the last one. First I'll fire the hunted shot for the 2 shots, and then the 2 actions for hunter's aim to ignore cover.
All right, fair enough.
So the rapid fire. 25.
25 hits.
Natural 1.
Natural 1 does not hit.
If you knock off my hat one more time,
Resme, your bird. Hit it.
a bird comes flying in the
Please
back of my
move
head.
the bird.
He likes you so much.
1 point of damage. Resme, the bird.
He runs back in your quiver.
And the hunter's aim shot, this time ignoring cover.
Okay.
15.
15 will miss. One of these arrows landing as he steps back to square up with everyone here. Rur,
All right.
you see Dalren not having a great job dueling him at the front line.
We're going to fix that real quick.
A little blood spatter on the flagstone.
We're going to walk
Little.
up behind Dalrin, and we're going to take this pretty big gash in his shoulder blade, and we're just going to slap a handful of gunk in there and numb the entire thing.
Some kind of salve he's pulled out of his bandolier here. Are you a trained or expert on this?
Expert.
Expert, okay.
He's gonna solve your problems.
For a reroll, because it's not quite high enough.
Get your session rerolls here.
That is exactly 1 higher, which is still not high enough. So that's a 16.
So 16 is going to fail. His wounds are too severe. The holy magic that Iomade gives Buddy was enough to cause some of his pain. But these aren't just like little slashes. He has taken some powerful hits from this halberd. It's going to take more than just some numbing agent to really make a difference.
His
for him.
shoulder's grinding a bit.
Dalren.
And I'll pop a shield up.
All right, you're up, and then the commander once more.
All right. So Dalren, I'm gonna go ahead and pound my chest. Swear I wasn't touching the table when that happened.
It's the power of rage.
That's how powerfully he pounds his chest.
Yeah. It's like that was nothing. And he's going to actually let the geese arm drop, pull a javelin, and just fling it right into him.
Okay.
I'm not walking in that threatened area.
Yeah, I agree. Nice.
Okay, so that's a 21.
21 will hit.
All right. Thank you, Raging Thrower. Get my rage with that. Hey. So that's going to be 11 damage, piercing.
Solid, actually. And as you hurl this javelin dead center into him, he staggers backwards and almost loses his foot.
And he's going to, I'm just going to hook the foot underneath the geese arm and pop it back up and catch it and ready again.
He... All right, tactics, man.
Tactics would say leave, but...
Pretty sure this is a fallback situation.
Just jump back down into your grave, pull the rock back over. Turtle up.
So you have been healed a pretty significant amount here. But as far as you can see, a paladin and a cleric that's devastating the front line who has put himself into range now. He is going to move up with his halberd, lunging towards Dalren. You realize the last moment it's not towards you, it's past you. Towards Rur, behind you.
17.
17. Give me them crits, boy. Well, that was not a roll at all. Stop. Okay. 17. 26. Not gonna crit you.
Because of shield.
He's gonna, because of shield. And trying to get, to be fair, you have light cover too, so just 2 off. You
Yeah.
need 20, you need a 27.
Because of the body and
You need
shield.
28. And he's barely able to get this past here. He only hits you for 5 damage. Trying to push past your front line. And then as nobody punished his movement in, he's simply going to move back again, putting this space between you. Tyrannus takes a step forward. Again, not even putting a foot in front of the other so much as he is almost just shuffling forward. And he lets out a sound. Just... "Ah! Come on!" But doesn't move any further forward and doesn't do anything. Buddy.
I would just notice this. I wasn't paying any attention to what was going behind me at all. I would just notice this and be fairly distracted by how much pain it sounds like Tyrannus is in. And I would probably also kind of freeze, trying to figure out what... 'cause I can't see anything hitting him. I can't see anything after him, and
There's like beads of sweat
yeah, like
forming on
I'm
his forehead.
trying to
here
figure
as
out what it is, and I'm trying to like get a real good like perception. Like I would in character roll perception to try and find what it was that he was being bothered
You want to
with.
seek. That's an action now. So that is much more defined in 2nd edition. You can take the seek action with perception to either look at a 30-foot cone or I believe it's a 10-foot burst around an area. So either a radius of like 4 squares or a cone 90 degrees that goes out 30 feet. So he's only like 20 feet away from you. So you could seek that cone out towards Tyrannus to see if there's anything else. You can absolutely roll a perception.
Well, I would in character I would for sure roll a perception because I can't figure out like he seems to be in
something
incredible
seems
pain.
Wrong.
Yeah. So that my perception there would be 28. Not 28. 18.
I was like, wow.
18.
Buddy got to specialize.
18. Oh no, that's only for initiative, so it'd be 16.
With the 16, looking, you see nothing. There are like bones scattered all across the back end of this crypt here. A lot of them kind of heaped in piles that they've slid against the walls in this back corner where they've flown past them. None of them seem to have hit him at all, much less with enough force to do any damage.
So then I'd raise my so I'd be looking for basically the whole turn to try to figure out like if we're getting flanked, if we're like doing something, and I'd raise my shield again.
Hey, Resme.
Resme will shout out, "Back to your grave, Hell Knight," and dispel undead one more time, trying to take him down.
He is going to... You're 19, right?
Yeah.
That's an 18. He is going to fail.
He's gonna take 11 points of damage.
And with that 11 points of damage, he too Does what? What happens to him?
As her magical holy light hits him, he will actually almost, you'll see him sink spiritually down into the floor as he becomes translucent, as more and more of him disappears until there's nothing left on the ground.
Dispel this guy. Nothing left but the armor and the halberd he bore. No actual signs of the body itself.
And I would rush over immediately as I see this other threat gone. I'd rush to Tyrannus and pull him in between me and Resme and guard the other way. And what's over here?
And as you rush up to him, he's still just like tightening, like wringing the grip of his halberd, the pole, not even in like a combat grip anymore, just almost holding it in front of him. You rush up to him and he looks at you and he looks down the hall towards where the last of the creatures is removed. Then closes his eyes and like almost wrenches his whole body together before he raises the halberd up in one hand and slams it down on the floor. Damn it! And drops down onto his knees, like his hands and knees on the floor there, just right in front of you.
And I would...
The enemy that assails him is himself.
While this is going on, I'm going to start immediately turning to the very large and obvious gash in Dalrin.
Oh,
Master, are you okay?
goodness. Really? Oof, my shoulder.
I'd
It's-
put an arm around Tyrannus. Be there. There ain't nothing you can do about it, son.
And he just kind of like sinks down almost, still on his hands and knees, and sinks down to sitting with his hands just playing on the ground in front of him. Damn it.
Sir Knight, are you okay? Your conditioning, perhaps, or
I-
something else?
I froze. I don't know how else to put it, or what else to say.
It's not easy for something you can't see and don't understand to step in and control your actions, is it?
Nothing controls me. These are Hell Knights, damn it. These are my brothers.
I get it, man. If I had to, if family members rose up from the dead and someone asked me to strike them down, I'd have just the problem. Ain't nobody here to judge you.
And he's got his head just leaning on one gauntlet now, almost just sitting up on his own feet.
Sir Tyrannus, it occurs to me, these necromantic wards exist to protect the crypts, yet we've defiled no crypts here, and yet these skeletons are here. Maybe they're protecting something other than the crypts.
This
It doesn't
makes-
mean that you've broken your oaths or done anything wrong to have run into them here.
This makes no sense. I don't understand why they are here.
Maybe.
Why? These Hell Knights. This is a volunteer situation. We are not forced into this undeath to defend what we believe in past the grave. This is something that a man or a woman who has dedicated their entire lives to the Order of the Nail can choose. They serve only to defend our citadels in the direst hours.
Well, perhaps
This is not a protection from looters or grave robbers. That's not how they function. Why would we care? If the crypts are being robbed, clearly the citadel has already fallen. They only rise. These are soldiers to defend the order. From what?
From whatever's coming through those portals.
The
I would
citadel is
guess.
abandoned. This fort shouldn't even still be intact.
very clearly something's happening here that goes beyond our understanding.
Maybe there's something here that's more important than the Citadel to protect. If one of Alcetta's rings is truly here, I could understand the masters of your order leaving something like this in place to protect their secret.
But would they even have known? The lictor let me come here, believing this was simply an abandoned citadel with no further purpose to seek my ring. Not a word about what could have been here. Would they even have been given the proper choice? Could they have even known what they defend now?
I don't know.
Until we know more, we can't say.
If the answer is no, then they are effectively slaves, not serving their order at all. It wouldn't do, then, to shirk at freeing them from their bondage if it is not what they agreed to.
Looks up at you. No. No, it would not. I don't know what in the nine hells is happening here. But I will not freeze again, you have my word.
I believe you.
I'm sorry.
We've got your back, Tyrannus. It's okay.
Very well. And he reaches for his halberd and stands back up to his feet. And checks the blade to make sure it doesn't take any damage or anything when he casts it down on the stone. It appears to be intact, just a little scuffed. Hopefully that is the last of it.
I hope so too.
We're well prepared if we need to fight more, but I would prefer we didn't.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, Sun Priest, your magic appears to be quite effective here, fortunately. Works against undead regardless of their purpose, apparently.
The light of Serenray and Iomedae serve us well.
As I told you previously, I will be the beacon in the dark.
No mere turn of phrase for a Sarenite, eh, Sir Knight?
Apparently not, no. That is certainly powerful magic. There's no two ways about it. You, for all of our good fortune, smote an entire line of Hell Knight soldiers in a single move.
Of undead. Hell Knight regardless. The power of positive and negative energy is a force not to be trifled with.
I think our companion was simply remarking on how dangerous our opponents were, and it certainly would have been nearly as easy a fight. Not
If
that
you
it was
all-
easy.
If you all are finished admiring our sundered opponents, we could continue.
I have to finish admiring the gash in Dalrin's shoulder first. I can't let it bleed out like this.
If it's not too much trouble.
Yes, perhaps we should rest. Recuperate for a moment. That was some battle.
Although, Esvis, I do happen to notice that there is an open portal that we have yet to explore. Perhaps best to see if there isn't anything waiting for us to let our guard down.
The sounds of that battle rang throughout the stone crypt, nearly ear-shattering. If there ever more coming, I am certain they would have made their appearance.
No, I think Dalrin speaks true. I'll investigate, and Esvis I will move towards the door and just check to see if it's locked at all.
What door are we looking here?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's not a
That's
door.
not a door. It's
That's
just
not
an
a door.
open. It's a
It's open.
doorway.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a stone opening here. That is not a. There's not any kind of a door in place. It just leads to wherever it leads.
You'll see Resme touch her mother's necklace, and a shimmer of magic will gleam over her before it disappears inside her again, and I'll recast False Life on myself.
Fair enough.
If you're going to be looked at, your glove then?
Oh, yes, of course.
I just throw the glove at you.
And as you pass it over to Esvis, it gets such a glorious beacon of light when it gets turned on. Up to Esvis, and this light now illuminates the southern chamber here. Another one of these rooms. It seems to lead into more of an ossuary.
Oh, that's big.
It does go near 30 feet back from where you are and turns around the corner to your left. You can see racks of stone shelving, lined with sconces and ancient candles long abandoned that haven't been lit in centuries, and coffin-sized compartments laid into the stone walls, near floor to ceiling, everywhere that you can see.
Wow.
This was where most of the dead must have been interred, clearly. But you hear nothing, and you see nothing of movement, and nothing comes to meet you. And Tyrannus kind of walks or pushes past you here into the room, up to the nearest line of shelving into these notches, a large amount of which have bodies in them. Not all of them, but about half. And he looks over everything in front of him here, and across the counter, just kind of running his hand across it. This is ridiculous. All of this abandoned, but some arcane reasons the power lictors don't see fit to share. There must be a cause. There must be something here that needed to be hidden.
I'll start looking at the ones that are in the floor, looking at to see what names are written on them, if they're in any specific pattern or order.
Your hammer's in that one.
These ones here across the flagstones don't appear to have any titles or anything. Each of them is engraved much more simply with a name and a year. Nothing more than that. And there are dozens of them rolling down the hall here. A total of 7 of which are open, where the skeletons you've just dispatched had rose from originally. And as you resume exploring here,
Well,
you
we're
detect magic does. I mean, but you're
Yeah.
treating him. You're sitting down.
okay.
But like as you, I assume, but you detect
Yeah.
magic up. You do detect magic here as well.
And there's something over here for when you're done with Master Dalren.
I'll come take a look at it in a moment. And Halfling Luck is going to re-roll that hard 1.
Thank you. Thank you for not spitting in my wound.
That'll buff out. To another 4, so not a critical failure, no progress.
What's the total?
15.
Fair enough. So you have plus 11 in medicine already. That's
Yes.
pretty. Oh yeah, expert proficiency is a hell of a drug. So yeah, with 10 minutes here, trying to act somewhat quickly because you don't know what could take place, you aren't successful, and you're able to reduce Dalren's pain, but you're not able to meaningfully help him in any way.
It doesn't seems that this might be a bit require a bit more of our resources.
Well, if you're willing to wait a moment, I believe that I have another trick I could try.
Oh, we have some of these healing potions left over from what even the town council gave us. Minor things, not really useful in a pinch, but at a time like these, unless you had something else in mind.
Just more tending to it, just taking a little longer to properly suture the wound and whatnot.
I think Esvis may go stir crazy if we don't get moving soon.
Well, if you
I
think you'll
agree.
be okay.
While they were doing the medicine check, I'd be kind of centering myself. It was weird to question myself.
Weird to have your thing
Well,
flip back on you.
well, like it's weird because like for a lot of things, I do really question whether or not I should be. But for skeleton soldiers, it's really weird. So I'm gonna like really be going through trying to center myself. Like, no, what we're doing here is good. So I'll be getting my focus point back just because that was a really weird situation for me to be in.
All right.
And I'll
Last 2 minor healing potions give me 11 health back.
Okay.
D8 apiece, right?
Minor healing potion is D8 apiece. Yes.
Oh, you did tape it down there.
Yes, it is taped right down here. I
Well
have
played.
a lot of useful, quick referencey thingies down there.
And I'll do the read-R thing, trying to find any sources within the room.
So, filling around the room with your magic, you do identify that each of the halberds wielded by the Hell Knight commanders does have a magical aura to it, each of them resonating with a very faint blue sheen.
All right, I'll let everyone know that both of the halberds are indeed magical, and that perhaps Tyrannus would like to have one.
I'll take a look at them with my quick item examination.
Okay.
Wait, aren't we supposed to be putting these back in the graves here?
Well, we certainly aren't going to go robbing any graves, but if the items pop out of the graves and present themselves to us...
That seems like we're stretching the
that's a nat
rules
20.
here.
So
okay.
a 28.
And Tyrannus at this point just kind of shrugs. Well, we may need them to deal with what is to come.
Exactly. We may need them to deal with what
Well,
is to come.
I
It's
do not agree
Tyrannus's-
with opening graves and robbing them, but if something is actively trying to kill us and we utilize it for the betterment of ourselves and for surviving this,
My order abandoned everything here long ago. We lay no further claim to it.
It hit me first.
So you would be able to identify with a minute of turning this over with your magic, trying to figure out what it is. Those are secret, by the way, but I'll let you keep your 20.
Oh, sorry.
You will identify set right into the haft below the blade, almost beneath where it connects. There is a lesser potency rune on each of them. Lesser potency.
Plus one. Okay.
Striking is the gasp of excitement.
That was gonna be...
I mean,
But
magic
but
is
in second
magic.
edition,
Oh,
you
very-
can use a day of crafting to transfer a rune to another item. So you could and they're not item specific at all. You could transfer one of these lesser potency runes to Esphus's bow, for instance, and he would have a +1 longbow. That is a thing you can do if you're trained in crafting.
That's the thing I can do.
I am expert in crafting now.
Ooh, fancy.
we all have
These
crafting.
halberds appear to have something very similar to what we put on your geese arm. They simply make it a little bit more accurate, a little bit better.
Ah, spectacular. We should definitely, Tyrannus, you may want to take one of these up, and, for the other, a day of crafting, we could extract the magic from it and put it on whatever we like.
You kind of raise an eyebrow and looks down a bit. That may be magical, but this is mine.
I understand.
Well, if you would like, we could transfer the magic from one of them to yours, just not immediately.
He sheathes his halberd and picks one of the old rusted skeletal halberds up from the ground. And these are much more ancient make, whereas Tyrannus's is near full metal. It's the whole pole of the thing is still steel. There's no wooden or weaker part to it. These are wooden hafted with a metal spike fitted on the bottom end and another on the extending to the top almost ornamentally as this blade kind of curves in a bit in a crescent shape where it comes forth from the haft, and he looks it over. These are Diasmodius centuries old. But
The
I
magic is
suppose
what holds them together.
I hardly say I've earned it.
Now, once
You've done your fair share to get us this far.
Well, I'm not going to turn it down either.
Pragmatism, sir.
Pragmatism indeed. Very well. Just kind of turns it over in his hands a bit, taking some little, almost like slow, like practice golf swings with it, trying to get the feel of the blade. As he steps back, giving himself a little more space.
So I guess we're looking for your family name, right?
No, none of the Horde line were interred here, as far as I can tell. We were here only briefly. It was a signet ring left behind in the vaults, of which I have seen no sign of. And I dare say we've explored together at least most of the citadel by now. I can't imagine it would be behind the crypts. What little sense that would make. But nothing of this place seems to make any sense at this point.
So, Tyrannus, who told you your signet ring was here?
My grandfather.
And this was, when did he tell you this? And was he retiring? Was he...
These were old stories from when I was much younger. Several years ago, at the very least, would be the last I have heard it. Tales he told me during my training of our contributions personally to the order. Why?
Was your grandfather stationed here?
No, this was before even his time.
Did he specifically say signet ring?
He did, yes. And he reaches down to his girdle and back behind the side of the buckle and pulls out a tiny blank key, like 1.5 inches long. It is in a lockbox under a false bottom. In one of the vault doors.
Interesting.
This should open it.
I had the brief thought
I
that
did not come here unprepared.
I had the brief thought
Well,
that
clearly
perhaps
I
he
did,
sent
but not to this extent. He tucks it back into his belt.
I had the brief thought that perhaps he sent you here for a different reason, but it does indeed seem as if he sent you here for the signet
I
ring.
cannot imagine when he was telling me of our family's previous exploits that he had any inclination I would deign to travel here myself.
But it may be possible that your ancestors knew more of this place and may have created a reason for one of their descendants to come back here.
You know what? At this point, I am beyond arguing this.
That is fair.
They
That is
very
fair.
well may have.
Yes. Just thoughts and ideas. Shall we explore the rest of this chamber if for no other reason than to finish my little sketch of this place?
Yeah.
At this point,
If
don't
I may
see
have
why
my
not.
glove back.
And also, we should look for any other passages that might lead out of here. Or secreted away things. That happens in stories, right? Like, there could be a secret passage that leads us to a different place.
It is entirely possible.
So the group of you make your way
Goodness, this goes on and on,
down
doesn't it?
this hall. A long,
Careful not to trip. Those are open.
quite an extensive series of these grave flagstones in the ground. They go on for
Like 10 feet.
like 10, at least it's at least 10
At least
feet.
10
It's at
feet.
least 10 feet. This goes for nearly 100 feet. Just a row of these graves, and let me hand the glove back over. Esphus, no light.
The blessed glove.
Alren, 20 jillion light. Move him at regular light.
1.21 gigawatts.
But finally, this long hall does end in a door.
Huh.
And there wasn't anything in that other room.
Just more of the same company.
Well, we'll probably want to check it out a bit more thoroughly at the very least.
Secret passages and the like.
Lest we join them.
Oh, let me know when an hour's been up.
An hour's been up?
Yeah.
From when?
From when I cast Comprehend Languages.
Well, it's been probably about 20 minutes since then, since you took a 10-minute rest so
Just
far.
in case we happen to go back and it's still on.
Fair enough. And you are left before you with a metal door. This one's set into the stone, seemingly reinforced. But it is hanging ajar, not fully closed.
Oh, I was about to ask
Beyond
what
that,
page.
there was a set of, like, no perception or survival check needed. Very obviously, a set of footprints in the dust here that came out from this door, proceeded about 10 feet outwards before turning back and going back inside.
I
A single
wonder-
set of boots.
I wonder what could have possibly forced this individual to return to this room.
It might have been skeletons.
It might have
Might have
been
been skeletons.
Yeah.
I'm of the mindset, I believe it was probably skeletons.
Somebody came in here, went, nah, not doing this door.
It's
Gonna
like,
go through
nope,
another door.
none of this nonsense.
Yeah, I reckon we'll go on ahead and take a peek inside.
And
Seems
these,
like the way forward at the moment.
these boot prints. Perhaps we can follow them. Esphus, perhaps.
And opening up this door, you are let into one final chamber here. I guess not found because there is another door, but into a large, oddly shaped vault behind the crypt with rows of large metal and stone lockboxes lining the winding walls of this storeroom. And there's punctuated occasionally by shelves and what look like tall filing cabinets. Nearly all the lockboxes hanging ajar, having been opened and emptied years and years and years ago. And the set of footprints continues in here, quite obviously having moved through the room. But they went around here a bit, so it would take some effort to put together exactly what the feet had done. On a low table in the center of the room, there was a pile of ashes and a couple of recently melted candle stubs. Somebody was here not long ago,
And they used light.
and they needed light.
Esphus, if you would close that door, just in case.
We don't close doors.
Since when do we close any doors?
Since we're looking for someone who could get past us.
Your detect magic does detect magic in here.
Roar, I can sense a magical signature coming from this room.
Let's see what we can find.
Tyrannus, look. It's a place
we
full of...
found the
as soon
vaults.
as you enter the room, immediately starts moving around the vaults. Very precisely. He's not like randomly sorting through lockboxes. He's looking around in a very calculated way, looking at a couple of very specific and particular things, but clearly beginning a search for something. Rur
Yes.
or
me.
Search Boy? We'll let either of you attempt a survival check.
A survival check?
A survival check for the tracks that are in the room, because you're recalling knowledge and you're seeking, and those kind of both sort of lay into this, unless you want to stop scouting to follow this.
I'm too busy looking for magical items.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, he had asked Esphus.
You can stop scouting.
I'll
to
stop
do
scout.
that. Okay.
I'll stop scouting to do the survival.
Alright.
I got a solid 8.
So then
Good,
we'll
'cause
take
I'm bad
yours.
at that.
Give it a shot.
I have to remember that one time I was following footprints 60 years ago.
I don't think he's gonna find it.
A natural 20.
Tracky boy doing the tracking.
So Esphus immediately starts, like, almost
Hungry the
immediately, everyone
footprints.
has a job in this room. Tyrannus is looking around for his signet ring. You're tracing the footprints. You two are searching for magical items. Buford is standing there. Dalren
With
is...
my shield up, though, and that really matters.
Dalren is just looking around for anything of interest, really. Buford is watching everyone else run
I'm
around
watching
like
the doors
ants.
And Esphus
very
was...
closely.
So you put together a series of events, Esphus. These boots came in through the door ahead of you, the door to your left on the northern side of the room that leads yet further into the basements. They entered, came to this center table, kneeled down, and set up all of these candles. They were there for some time, occasionally moving, standing, and by the position of their feet, shifting their weight around into some interesting and odd positions you can't really determine a point for. After all of that, they walked to the door through which you had entered from. They opened that door, took about 4 steps outside, and sprinted back out the way they came. Clearly running, beelining for
Nope.
Anywhere that's not there.
anywhere that was not full of skeletons. Now, Rur and Resme, as you are looking around the room, it's gonna take you some time. There's a lot of stuff in here. It's gonna be at least 10 minutes for you to try to peruse through the room, reading the aura of all of the various bits of scattered papers and refuse and what was once probably heirlooms or trinkets worth keeping that are just everywhere for where the magical signatures are coming from. Dalren, make me a perception check.
17.
All right. And as you are looking across this, just kind of following along with Tyrannus as he goes around the room,
Pardon me.
Still following tracks.
following Tyrannus as Esphus scoots
Narrating
by,
the story
tracking
as he
some
goes.
feet. You start sorting through a huge pile of things, but one thing you do notice that very much stands out to you is sitting tucked in between 2 of the lockboxes on a small stack of not full page-sized documents, but look like little missives, almost set as if it was a paperweight, is a silver religious holy symbol. It's circular, almost a coin, with 2 faces back to back on it. One of them a lighter metal and one of them darker. with
Back
near
to back,
opposite
so like
emotions.
facing like on the same side of it, or faces
On the same
like
side
other
of the
sides.
coin, like sorry,
Okay.
back on the back against each other
Okay.
on the front of this symbol. You would recognize this as the same thing that Resme has on her necklace.
Oh,
This is a holy symbol of Alceta.
Resme.
Yes, Master?
Found something that may interest you. Although what it's doing here.
Oh, it's beautiful. This
It's-
one's older than mine.
It is ancient. That looks like it's at the very least centuries old and carved of what appears to be near pure silver, with what was either a metallurgic or chemical treatment to darken or lighten the two sides of the face.
Does it seem does it throwing off any magical
It
signature?
is in no way magical, no.
It's very pretty.
Anyway, she'll take it and put it around her neck to join the other one.
It doesn't immediately like have a hole or anything to turn it into a pendant or to run a string through it.
It's just an icon.
Yeah, it's just like an icon about the size of your palm, maybe.
Oh, okay. It's just like an icon.
Yes, it's not
Oh,
like
okay.
something you would hang.
Well then she'll put it in one of her vest pockets to look at later.
All right. Around this time,
Thank you.
Tyrannus has located something. He pulls one of the lock boxes down from the northern side of the room and brings it over to the low table in the center, where he sets it down and reaches down inside it. And you hear some scraping of wood, where he takes the false bottom out of the lockbox and pulls out a much smaller box. Really big.
It's a box.
In front of him. He is completely silent at this point. He reaches down to his belt and pulls that small key out and slides it into a hole in the front of this tiny box. When anyone near him can very slowly open it to reveal a ring, which looks relatively simple, honestly, in make. It's not a terribly complex thing, but it is set with a wide circular face and some kind of a crest on the front. And then sitting on a bed of crushed velvet, places the box down and reaches up to undo and remove one of his gauntlets before he silently takes out the ring and just very slowly slides it onto his finger. Just kind of holds it there with that facet on the top, just looking down at it.
Guess it's back where it belongs now.
It suits you, sir.
I remember sitting on my grandfather's lap, turning this ring on his finger when I was but a boy. I had assumed his stories of what found its way here were nonsense. Yet here it is. Thank you for helping me reunite with these memories, friends.
Of course.
Of course.
You have the order of the nail's gratitude, as do you, of course, mine.
Anytime.
He just stands there, slowly kind of turning it up on his finger, looking at the family crest, and shifting it in a different light,
Oh,
engrossed by it.
For what it's worth, there's magic in the room. Would you like me to check the ring?
The ring is not magical, but if it was on your mind, it is very well.
Just for the sake of getting it off the list of items.
Holding his hand towards you as you cast your read aura onto it, it does not, in fact, appear to be magical.
All right. One more item off the list in the entirety of this room. Thank you.
Wait, how'd you say this ring got here again?
Is this magical?
I did have a different
Test the ball you're holding.
I did have a different image in my mind of how this ring got here, since your grandfather wasn't stationed here, but yet you said just now that you remember seeing it on his finger?
This citadel is only so old. It's not oozes and breaches by any stretch of the imagination. It's only been abandoned a few decades.
Oh, of course.
My grandfather was stationed here.
Ah,
As part of a training of the Hell Knights, to put no faith in those who have not earned it, and to trust them not with valuable information. And, truth be told, perhaps my training gets the better end of my sense sometimes. I have only met the group of you yesterday, the day before. But yes, my grandfather was stationed here. He lived and served here for most of his life. My father before him even spending some of his time before Altarian was abandoned. But I don't know what to make of that now. I don't know what purpose this place serves.
So my theory might have been correct, but this was a ploy to get you here. Not necessarily you, but get someone here to start investigating things.
well, if
I can't imagine they intended me to follow up on this. These are the stories a grandfather tells his grandson. They're not a mission he had tasked me with, and it was much younger at the time, early in my training.
In all honesty,
What, 15 perhaps is the latest I've ever heard it. These are errant tales. I have that much faith in my family, at least.
Alcetta's a pretty esoteric deity. My family only worships her because they're of an ancient elvish line, and Alcetta is an elvish deity. I doubt they expected you to come here and find somebody who is a worshiper of Alcetta.
I also, truth be told, very much doubt that they knew much more than I did. We are Hell Knights. We live to serve. But we do not all grow old and become paralictors, master of blades. Most of us serve our lives as some gods or soldiers, some signifiers, should they show the talent for magic. Was a gift at learning it, and my family has never been particularly high-ranking. It's very possible they knew no more than we do of this Alcetta.
well,
Or these
Sir
portals.
Knight, if you're interested in learning more of it, you could certainly stay with us, but your mission is, as you said, quite fulfilled. If you wish to head home, we would understand.
Although you better not forget that tapestry upstairs.
Indeed, that painting is quite impressive. It looked great hanging over your mantelpiece.
Yes, I would love to reclaim that as well if I can. But, as I said, I am here on leave, and this journey has taken me much longer than I anticipated. I will have to begin returning to Aricia here in a few days.
At the rate we work, we'll have the entire Citadel reclaimed and up and running again.
Hell Knights do have an awfully odd idea of what constitutes a vacation.
This
More of an excursion than a vacation.
excursion indeed is one that not many know of. I did not very much share my intents. I'm not so open with friends.
Well, it may be,
I'm pretty secretive too.
Sorry for interrupting your touching moment. I think I may have more information to add to our theory crafting.
Yes, by all means. Go ahead, Esvis. What have you found?
So the boots came first through this door over here, came directly into this room, set up the candles and the ashes. Well, the ashes probably for something else. Rur, maybe you can take a look at it. I don't know if it's for a ritual or not. They knelt here for quite some time, and then went through movements, nonsensical, perhaps posing. I'm not sure. I don't know how magic casters work. I've only seen my grandmother work. And then they went out through the door that we just came in, where we found their footprints, and subsequently sprinted back in before going out again.
Unsurprising, given the Holloway's former inhabitants.
do the boot prints lead out of this room in any particular way?
I did divine that they go back through.
They go back through the door they came in.
They go back through the door that they entered, so this was not something circumstance. Someone came in here for an express purpose. Something was done on this table that required them to kneel. And then they went to the door only to abruptly turn and sprint back.
Right. Perhaps looking for a way out, seeing that it was guarded by the dead, decided not to go that way. They seem to be by themselves. If they came out here perhaps to pray, they may have been seeking solitude. But the fact that they came through this door ahead of us, maybe there is another way to the lower levels.
Would I recognize if that was a ritual?
Make me an identify magic check. So that would be religion or arcana. Either of you can attempt that.
26.
17.
So you could put it together, Rur. Well, Resme can tell that some kind of ritual was cast here, something powerful, and it was within the last few days. You can't really identify much beyond a faint purplish aura of necromancy. Rur, you can divine a little further. This ritual did indeed have a very express purpose. It was performed to communicate with lingering spirits of the dead interred here, to speak with them.
I think I know what might have happened.
Oh?
This was to communicate with lingering spirits. Whatever they did here and however long they were doing it, it's to talk to the Hell Knights that were here. Tyrannus, they might have convinced them of a cause worth fighting for.
Either that or disturbed them so much that they
that
decided
doesn't
not to
count.
let them
They
through.
then immediately fled.
They might not have expected them to be there.
Their
Or possibly they didn't get what they expected out of their
Right.
conversation.
And he thinks for a moment. He's still holding his halberd in his free hand because he has nowhere to sheathe this new halberd, so he's just gonna hang on to it. And held up a finger. Right. No, I vaguely remember something of this. So, what did you say? What kind of magic was it they had cast here?
This was necromancy. They tripped the wards, didn't they?
This is I believe they may have, yes. So, were an older kind of these wards that were only used in situations that warranted. It was a conflict, a clash of necromancy. It was meant to prevent any kind of attempts to work with the crypts, to interfere, to raise any of the dead here. Fight fire with fire, sort of. In response to any kind of necromantic magics, these necromantic wards would trigger and animate the dead themselves.
Oh, that explains it.
These are no longer used. These are not the kinds of wards that we still rely on. I had thought they were much older than this. I'm surprised to find them here. But that would explain why they were in fact simply standing around in the hallway. This ritual must have activated them.
Indeed.
Then it means our adversary who lurks through that door somewhere is apparently a fairly accomplished caster.
You wanted to know something from the Hell Knights.
Would I know roughly how complicated this ritual is?
No, just its purpose.
Have we managed to find the magical item thingy we were looking for yet?
You have determined with the read aura that there is an aura hanging over this room of necromantic power from the latent energy from this ritual.
Okay.
It's entirely possible that's what the only thing that your detect
Got it.
magic is pinging off of, because you haven't managed to find this time any other items that read aura has identified as inherently magical themselves.
This gets more puzzling by the minute. I gotta go further. We have to solve this.
I must admit, I'm curious. We have come this far. We have found so much. And all of it just leads to more and more further questions and damned magic and necromancy. And
Those are all my favorite things.
these are none of my favorite things. I don't like any of these.
I'm sorry.
So what do we do?
Well,
There are more of the crypts still behind us. This whoever it was that came in here and performed his big fancy ritual.
I believe the crypts can wait. It would be more advantageous to find the individual who's causing the problems.
It looks like they haven't been here for days.
and it much to I suppose, in credit to the tactics that Lord Tyrannus continually talks about, it may be wiser to further explore the area behind us before leaving an unknown factor behind us. The ossuary, perhaps.
There's unknown factors in both directions as far as I can see. Besides, this hallway, he gestures the door behind him. For all these graves are set on the floor. This is narrow. I don't believe it reaches back up to the main entryways, and maybe another chamber, but I did not see any doors for it.
Exactly. So there may be another chamber behind us, and there's certainly the ossuary that Esvis looked at. That has, presumably, it stretches the entire length, but we don't know for sure. There may be more.
There is a second door in the western wall here. Yeah, there are 3 doors.
I'm
that
pointing
lead out
at
of
it.
this room. Yeah.
So
just in case that was a thing that had not been noticed, there are 3 doors that lead out of this place. You came in one, and as you came in the one, there was another one on your right, which will be where the ossuary was, that leads back west, and there's the one on the left the footprints go through. The footprints never interacted with the southern door.
Now that I've seen some more of this place, I'm going to call on my ancestry magic again to get knowledge architecture
Okay.
to see if I can kind of divine if there might be other things here that we're missing based on more of what I know of this place now.
All right. Roll me a lower architecture. Let's see what we got. You have a session reroll? Boy, hero point. Ooh, fancy. I forgot you still had one of these from before. That made it a long ways.
I kept it for a rainy day.
Fair enough.
like an architecture roll.
You don't get to roll a whole lot of d20s. You just make people
That's
make a
true.
bunch of saves.
Okay, that's gonna be a 20.
With a 20, it's probably safe that if the ossuary itself does not connect directly to the door on the south, it leads through to what does. As the hallway of the dead here, this promenade that led in here, just had flat walls on either side with no features and no doors. There's no access to anything other than this chamber, the vault at its very end. But like Tyrannus said, that promenade's not really wide enough to reach into the main entryway area. In addition, you came in from the rightmost hallway from the original antechamber, and you passed, when you fought the skeletons, you could see another door on your left that would have led to the center. You've seen no doors that would have led to the third of the southern hallways leading from that original antechamber, and there is certainly space for another room on the northern side of this promenade.
Resme would rattle that off in her brother's voice.
I'm not a fan of backtracking too far when we know we have a potential live enemy below us.
We could spike the door, but it seems if he's been down there for several days, he doesn't seem too inclined to come back up.
You did say that the magic was affecting the entire room, yes?
It does seem to be a faint trace, yes.
And you said that this was...
Necromancy. Some form of ritual for it, but...
There must be a way to deactivate the wards. Surely, if this citadel was still in operation and something had happened and the dead rose from their graves to defend, there would be a way to reinter them other than simply besting them in martial combat.
It would be a way to keep your descendants sharp, but
That would actually be very fitting for the Helllight Way.
Or if this person who was here before came in with an express purpose of speaking with your interred, then if there are more crypts below us, it's probably safe to assume that this person has had time to understand how the necromantic wards work. If this has been a few days, they've been down here long enough to at least divine that much, even if they didn't know much about Citadel Altarian.
By a few days, I'm looking at like 24 to 72 hours. Like, this was very recent.
Oh, very, very
They
recent.
came down
Yeah,
here
this was-
just before.
Yeah,
Oh,
this wasn't a
okay.
few days like this was a couple weeks ago. This was like 1 to 3 days ago they were here. This was very recent.
Oh, very recent, okay.
Like, possibly had you not rested, you may have encountered them here.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, sorry, rewind.
I just wanted to clarify that.
With it being such a short time frame, with it being someone who has been here so recent, if they've done something to upset the interred up here. If there's more interred below, we can safely assume either that they've managed to bypass it, or, as Buddy would say, pissed it off.
And moreover, it seems that since the skeletons outside this door were the only things keeping them from exploring the rest of this floor, and we've just taken that barrier away, it won't take them too long, I imagine, to realize that the hallway is no longer guarded. Perhaps you have the right of it.
Well, we've two pressing concerns. Do we proceed forward or back?
Back.
Forward.
Forward.
I'd have to go forward as well.
Okay.
Very well. We will continue. See what we can find beyond this door. And Tyrannus himself will step forward to open this, and it opens outward.
He just gets pulled in and he's gone.
Tongue.
It's the frog tongue comes through and immediately
Have you
yoinks him into
decided
the
to
chamber.
take my sister back when you had the chance?
Is she in particularly bad straits?
Do you see where we are? There's dead people everywhere.
Young master, your sister is going to be in far worse straits than a simple dead room everywhere. Besides, give dead people some credit. You're one of them yourself, you know.
I am not. He'll say as he grumpily disappears back inside Resme.
So this door leads into a further area of storage attached to the vault, filled with various racks and cabinets cluttering a fairly long but very narrow space. A lot of them are empty, but a good amount of them still have some dusty banners with the Order of the Nails insignia sunburst stylized. And by the way, I forgot to finish up on this one. That giant fresco across the southern wall of the promenade, you can only see the corner of, was a massive sunburst coming from the floor halfway up the wall, surrounded by concentric rings of literal nails facing outward.
Not the shiny, happy sunburst of Sarenrae, but
Not
the
very,
stabby,
very
pokey
different.
sunburst.
And not metaphorical nails.
Literal, actual nails. And there's a whole bunch of various stylized pentagrams on things, assorted Asmodean paraphernalia, other trappings, more clearly designed for formal funerals, kept down here as well.
I think that there's devil worship happening down here.
Oh! Have you discovered that one?
Just a rough guess.
He looks at his pauldron that has the freaking pentagram of Asmodeus on it. I would not have suspected we had devil worshippers in our midst at the Order of the Nail.
The Inquisitors of Sarenrae are not to be taken lightly.
That I'll be certain to keep a sharp eye out for them, Sun Priest.
You might find one someday.
In the back of the room, there is a tunnel, dirt-walled, like it's been carved here, opening, leading east.
Is it halfling sized?
It is larger than halfling sized.
Okay.
It is person sized. It's not.
Real people can use it.
It's not phenomenally small, but it is. You'd be forced single file walking down it. It's a narrow, maybe like 4 foot across, 7 foot high, molded tunnel, and it doesn't look like it's been dug. It's like almost smooth, impacted dirt, just extending off into the distance as far as your light goes. And Tyrannus looks at that and says, well, that is odd.
That would definitely explain how someone appeared down here.
The footprints from this door very clearly came from this tunnel and went back into this tunnel.
Doubt very highly that is a huge gopher hole.
And certainly not typical Hell Knight architecture.
Our person came up through here and came back.
But what is this and where does it lead? V came in
Well,
through the secondary tunnel.
it appears to be a hole.
Yep,
Again,
the only way we're gonna find out is going through it.
blinded
Let's go,
by
people.
the radiant brilliance of the Sun Priest.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have to, as Buddy said,
Let's go down that tunnel.
Does not appear to go down.
Well, it's walk in the direction of the tunnel. through the
and
tunnel
you
that
say
way.
things about me.
He's already infected you. It's too late.
Perhaps it is overexposure. Quickly, then, down
The
this
sun
tunnel.
can be dangerous when you spend too much time in it.
I can't let this infection progress further. So the group of you head into this tunnel. You have to, again, proceed
Well,
down
the
the
single file line of us heads into this
single file making your way down. And as it goes, it seems to be fairly straight for a good at least 100 yards before it starts to wind its way to the right. And as you march down here, your walk continuing for minutes, turning into half an hour as this tunnel has just been winding along. You said you're not scouting anymore, so you can make me a survival check to try and determine what direction we're even going here.
Sure.
Not that you could really scout single fire and just follow this tunnel anyway.
19 total.
With a 19, you can tell that this is very kind of slowly looped its way back down south and is heading directly towards Breach Hill.
We're going home.
Like metaphorically?
Stop.
And this is after like a quarter, maybe a half mile of journey through these tunnels. Esphis calls a halt. And everyone else is in front of you. So everyone just kind of comes to a stop and turns around. Well, we can't very well have a conversation in these tunnels. It's difficult given the positioning.
Just a moment, please. Continue. This is leading towards Breach Hill.
Oh. Huh.
Did we perhaps find a faster way back to the Citadel?
That's what comes to mind, not there are dangerous things making their way to town. Yeah, all right.
There's nothing dangerous going down the... Well, I guess we're going down the tunnel.
It's...
This is not even hidden. This is simply a tunnel wrought here leading from the Citadel's vaults.
Well, we don't know where how well concealed the other end is, but
Only one way to find out.
yeah.
We are heading towards Breach Hill. It doesn't mean that it comes out to Breach Hill, but that we have to keep that in mind, that we could have other unforeseen foes here.
Well, that's kind of what we were expecting, honestly.
Well, I mean, I know that
Conspicuous
Miller's
tunnel.
son is a bit of a bad sort, and his friends certainly do cause trouble, but
They don't mean no harm. They're young.
yeah, and then push people over, take their coin purses.
Are
and-
we standing or are we continuing?
Move, we can move.
I am sort of trapped behind you two. Can we walk and squabble, please? And Buford and Darren continue, and Aaron is behind them, and the rest of you get back underway again. As you make your way yet further down this tunnel, this half mile turns into a full mile of journey, making again through an oddly smooth, just arched tunnel of impacted dirt.
It's
no
actually arched,
reinforcements,
too?
no supports, no visible signs of how this was dug or created. Either you are recalling knowledge right now. You want to give me your identify magic again with your religion?
18.
With an 18, what's odd to you is that this goes on for so long with no supports or anything, with no signs of magic. There is nothing latent here, no abjurative wards or anything that are keeping it intact. It just simply is. But it shows no signs of wear. In fact, you don't even leave footprints in the dirt. It's hardened and compacted and smoothed enough that there's barely no traces left as you move.
Interesting.
But you continue. And you continue. And you continue. Until finally,
How far away is Breach Hill from the Citadel as
a little
the crow
over
flies?
a mile as the crow flies. Make me a perception check, search man.
Oh, that's an 11.
Is that a 1?
That's a
That's a
4.
Oh, it looked like a 1 from here. I was really excited for a critically
Oh,
failed perception
God.
check.
I just walk into the back of Esphis.
Yeah, with an 11, as you're making your way down here, you don't see or hear any signs of anything. It's almost oddly claustrophobic, but the air doesn't get particularly stale, as if it's still flowing through here enough to be kept to some degree of fresh. Before, finally, it leads to a ladder, leading up to what appears to be a very simple wooden trapdoor at its top.
Anticlimactic.
Are you kidding me? This is the weirdest grab we've ever run into. What is this nonsense?
It's a ladder.
You climb it.
Well, yeah. Why would someone have a trap door leading to the... Do you know how well if they were building this from the trap door, it's incredibly well laid out to get to that thing. That was an incredibly long tunnel. I can't believe.
No
It
one
was
in
very
Breach
impressive,
Hill
actually.
built that.
That's probably true.
So do we just
I wouldn't have called Comet for a demon summoning arsonist, though. So you never know what your neighbors can
So at this point,
do.
we're probably like 3 hours or so after sunrise, so it's still fairly early in the morning. It definitely hasn't passed to noon yet by any means. Are we proceeding?
Yeah.
You want to listen at that trap door, Esphus? Maybe you can pick something
I
up?
don't know if Eskins can get up here. It's quite a packed hall.
He's leading.
Is he?
He's
I
the
thought he was in
tracker.
the
I thought it was in
I think it's in the
He is
back.
in the back.
Pretty sure
Oh.
you two are leading.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
In
in
no
that case...
particular
I'll just.
order.
I'll just.
All right, well, in that
Squeeze
case,
by.
I
He's a
guess...
small little elf. We just take him past him.
No. Live. Live.
Live.
He's
elf.
wiry.
Wiry.
Just pick him up and toss him like a javelin.
You
I've already tried to launch the bird.
Twice.
make your way up, and the trap door does not appear to be locked or even latched in any way. You can simply press it up, and as you do, you get the first view of natural sunlight that you've seen since you descended in the basement this morning. It's not bright; it's not like in your eyes, but there is a warm light filling the still mostly dark room above you, but that's significantly brighter than the pitch black rooms you've been coming from here, through a window set into an equally simple wooden door in front of you. You can hear merriment. A bard playing, glasses clinking, dice rolling, as you emerge into what looks like it's a storeroom with kegs of ale, cleaning supplies, and rows upon rows of pickled pig's ears.
Oh, God.
Okay.
We're certainly in the store chamber in the basement of the best tavern in Breach Hill.
Yeah.
Tavern in Breach Hill.
The pickled ear. Why on earth there is a tunnel leading from the vaults of Citadel Altarian to the basement of the pickled ear?
This is what
A
happens when you
fairly
eat too
rough
many
and
pickled
tumble,
ears.
not super pleasant tavern in Breach Hill. The one you had directed Tyrannus to avoid originally on the northern end of town. Is a question we'll most certainly leave for next week. And this little bit right here of Sirenscape magic that I get, my tavern sounds, I get so much happiness and merriment with so much confusion from the party who has no idea why or how we've ended up here. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense. But
We crawled down a tunnel for like a mile and a half.
on the list of places you expected to end up, this
Is way down there.
probably near the bottom. We could rattle off all kinds of things, but the freaking pickled ear.
Which means that
We
the
have a drink.
caster is in this inn somewhere.
They could be anywhere, really.
Yeah,
as
they could
long
be
as
shopping. They could be,
They could be anywhere in Breach Hill.
Yep.
But
We could take all their pickles.
you could steal all of their pickles.
Good. We could just take it down
There
the
are
hall.
plenty
They'd
of
never
the
catch
pickled-
us.
The pickled ears for which the tavern is named, but there are also normal pickled turnips and onions and all kinds of other assorted vegetables and bits of pigs that perhaps were left better unpickled. You see at
everyone
least a
loves
few
turnips.
jars of hooves, and we gotta have turnips. It's a
It's a
a
thing.
piezo.
It's
thing.
a
gotta
piezo
have- yeah,
adventure.
There's
absolutely.
turnips here.
We've done it. We found the speakeasy for the pickled pig's ears from the Prohibition era.
But
Trafe.
this is
It's
a
not
place.
kosher.
This is a place that exists that will wait until next week for us to figure out why on earth we're here. Thank you, all of you in the chat, for hanging out with us, for bearing with our repeatedly freezing camera. I will continue my I fear unending efforts to try to figure out why the hell this is happening, because it's beyond me, clearly, but I'm gonna keep trying. At least I can now restart it very easily without a whole lot of a break in the action. Thank you to you guys for telling me when the camera froze so that I could go over and fix it. Next week, I don't even know what we're doing anymore. I feel like our ability to predict where this campaign is headed is to actually just reach zero after everything that we have learned today. But it's knowledge. It's knowledge that'll certainly lead somewhere.
Severin's going to continue to flirt with his quiver of arrows.
And you are going to continue to flirt with your quiver of Hell Knight, I assume.
Quivering
yeah.
Hell Knight.
We'll see how quivering
That's
Hell
my
Knight.
Hell Knight.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
See you all next week.